What's going on, my fellow cucks? Here we are again on Monday. Let's talk about who's presenting this episode, because it directly ties into our guests anyway. That's right, it's Black Rifle Coffee. Go to blackriflecoffee.com and check out everything that they have to offer. The rotating banner is my favorite. Right now, they are highlighting joining the Coffee Subscription Club. If you use the code COFFEE20, you're going to get 20% off. Free shipping on every order, discounts on over 50 brands that you know and love associated with Black Rifle, custom deliveries on your schedule. The next one is coffee bundles, which is exactly what you probably think it is. You can get 15% off those. And then the third one I'm not even going to talk about because it's that goddamn bass cap boat, and I just want that thing to end so I can look at something else. I'd rather look at a black screen than look at that boat again. Scroll down, you got apparel, some of the coolest T-shirts, in my opinion, sweatshirts, hoodies, the whole 9 yards. Gear, the bundles, you can get the Liberty Roast. Apparently that's on sale for a limited time only while supplies last. And yeah, you can get lost. I mean, then that's scrolling down. At the top, there's subscriptions, coffee, apparel, gear, bundles, about all of that stuff. And that's who brings you this episode and every episode before this one. And for the next few years as well, too, blackriflecoffee.com. Now, my guest today, why did I say that they tie in? Well, it's because they're both employees of Black Rifle Coffee. One of them is a repeat guest. His name is Jariko Denman. He was with me on the 777. The other guest today is Jenna Bakken. Combat veteran from the Army, served in Afghanistan. Her story is pretty incredible, and I'm going to let her tell her story. They seem to be traveling the world together. I call them Team Firebird, but now I'm just going to call them Team Jenico, which is the sassy combination of Jariko and Jenna. So how about I shut up and we let them talk? Episode number 297 with Jenico, Team Firebird. Enjoy.
Okay, got the red smoke. Gun runs north and south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke. Okay, copy, west of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now. Come on with it, baby, give it to me, I need it. Get cleared hot. Copy, cleared hot.
How's the audio in your headsets?
It's good.
It's good. Go ahead, take your time to figure it out.
You got a little baby mic.
All the mics are the same. Yeah.
The stand.
No, they're not.
See, it moves left and right, up and down. It has a maximum ordinate.
All right.
Are you all right? Are you good? You're making a face a lot like Evans on national TV last night. The face of a retard. It's just a different lower microphone. Hold on.
These are way better. Yeah.
Yeah, they are way better. You know what the problem is, though? If I put another one of these up over there, your side of the screen looks like pipes.
Oh, yeah. I get it.
Yeah. So now you're, this show's about Jenna. I don't even know why the fuck you're here, Jericho.
Yeah, I really don't want to talk much. I was going to ask before we came on if I should even be on at all. But
Just to hold my pocket.
yeah.
Oh, prison style.
Yeah.
Jesus, we're going there already?
Yeah. Evan calls her my husband. So.
It's my wife.
We
do a lot together.
That's throwing. Well, yeah. Okay, here's how I would describe you two. You guys are the Black Rifle Coffee skydiving fire team, which I would
Trying
like
to
to
be.
know. You have to talk into the mic, Jenna. Jesus
Trying
Christ,
to
keep it
be. I
close to your
know.
face. You can move it all over the place.
I'm not used to so close to my mouth.
All right, so that's how it's going to be. All right.
She's pretty misogynistic, just so you know. It makes me uncomfortable. Yeah.
Can a woman be misogynistic?
Yes.
No.
Watch.
Shut up.
I think you can be, right?
Yeah. Of course.
Okay. How did you
By
guys
definition.
achieve your ability to travel the world and skydive and test gravity? Also, why are you talking into the side of the microphone? This is super bizarre.
This microphone is a circle. It does not have sides.
You are clearly, and anybody watching on video will be able to see, talking into the side.
I mean, they're all sides. There's the bottom side, the top side, the right side, and the left side.
I was just curious.
But it all
It's a sphere.
comes into it the same, doesn't it? I'm curious now.
No. You guys get to introduce yourself. Let's start there, and then we'll work our way backwards to the Black Rifle Coffee skydiving team, also known from this day forward as the Firebirds. Go ahead.
I'll go
Jariko.
first.
You were first, so keep it short, fucker.
I'm Jariko Denman.
Next.
Jariko Denman.
This
I
is
have 2,200 followers on my MySpace.
Did you ever have a MySpace account?
Oh, shit, yeah, I did.
I missed that whole phase.
I
Oh,
did
man.
too.
Yeah, it taught us how to code. Remember, you'd have to copy and paste, like, code.
Do you remember when I just said a second ago where I missed that whole phase? No, I don't.
I'm sure you stood over somebody's shoulder and watched
Not
them
a
mess
si-
with their MySpace.
Not a single time. I
No?
actually missed the entire MySpace era.
It wasn't... It was new. It was fun. Yeah, MySpace was fun.
It's the difference
Do you think
between...
you could still log into it now?
Probably.
You can still look mine up, and it's embarrassing.
It's
I
the
would be
difference
so
between
fucking embarrassed.
Army, Special Operations, and Navy. We were busy doing stuff. I didn't have time.
I was like still in high school. I wasn't in the Army yet.
You couldn't find a waterproof laptop to get on your MySpace.
Oh, I certainly could. It was about the thickness and width of this table. Do you remember what episode you were on first?
The number episode?
Yeah.
No, I
All
don't
right,
remember.
Michael, can you
Yeah,
look up?
I'm looking it up.
Yeah, thanks. Just because that way, like we can pretend he's not here. But
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
gonna do him the courtesy of like introducing. Michael will let us know what episode, and people just can go listen to that.
I think the only thing I need to be here for is Jenna has like toxic humility, so maybe every once in a while I'll have to like just like prod her a little bit and be like, tell that one story about that thing you did.
And I'm actually like really naturally introverted, so it's like weird for me. It's taken a lot of practice to like be more forthcoming. Yeah, be more forthcoming with my story or things that I've done, because I'm like, I'm fucking nobody. We're all nobody. Like, so like, what does it matter? Like, I
That's
didn't
the
die.
biggest truth,
Right?
Like at the end of the day, we are all nobody.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was reading a quote the other day. I was talking about people's funerals. It's like the first row at your funeral are the people whose lives were impacted by your life. The second row of your funeral are those that are there to support the first row. And everybody else is on their fucking cell phone.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like, we all think we're, like, the biggest... I have... this should be a spoiler alert to anybody listening to this. I've made some mistakes in my life. Some of them quite publicly. And you always think that, like, everybody is out there judging you for your lowest moment. And nobody actually gives a fuck. Like, we're all slogging our way through whatever we're going through. Everybody has problems.
Truly.
Nobody's not that big of a deal. Even the people that I have met who are a big deal, they're not that big of a deal.
Yeah, everyone
No.
has their own stuff going on. They're not worried about what you're doing or...
Yeah, pretty
So,
much.
yeah.
Everybody shits,
True.
you know?
Well, except for people who have colostomy bags.
But they're still shitting. They're just into a bag, right?
Did you guys know?
mean,
So my
still
sister
shit's going
worked in an emergency room, and they would have colon blockages where people were vomiting shit.
It's one of my worst nightmares.
God. It just kill me. Just fucking...
This is a really
I
gross
don't
story.
want to gag it. I don't want to gag into this microphone, but...
Michael is like, "Thanks, guys. This is great. Just had lunch."
Episode 258, by the way.
Okay, perfect. Don't try to distract us from vomiting shit. All right, we're going into new scientific territory now with Jariko Denman, MD.
Shitologist.
Yeah. So what was your biggest nightmare? Just vomiting shit?
No, so when I was about, I must have been about 14 or 15, Thanksgiving Day, I ate way too much Thanksgiving. I got really sick. I was on the shitter, taking a shit, and I threw up. And as I threw up, the turd that was like halfway out of my house slurped back in. I don't know why. I don't know why this happened. I couldn't explain it to you physiologically, but in my mind,
Because you were inverted.
I fucking had this. I had this thought go through my head that I was gonna puke out that turd, like that it was just gonna slurp all the way up through my intestines, through my stomach, and then out of my mouth. That flashed through my head.
You remember this to this day.
Yeah, of course that's impossible to happen, but
It's not
it was
impossible.
Scary.
It's just a lot of runway you'd have to cover.
Yikes.
Might be able to happen in space. I don't know.
Yeah. That and things that people put up their butts. It's pretty
God.
wild.
Yeah.
There's a doctor who I keep meaning to follow on Instagram. He does it quarterly. Things I found in people's butts. And he said he just puts up the x-rays. And some of them are like, okay, here's one. Light bulbs.
Yeah. What is with that? Why do people do that?
Michael, why do you do that?
Personally,
You want to know the most disturbing one of those I ever heard? I'm talking about all these weird stories after I said I wasn't going to talk. A doctor had a patient, I don't know if it was a guy or a girl, probably a guy, come in, take a handful of thermometers, mercury thermometers, put a rubber band around him, and then put him in his ass, and one of them broke. So then he had mercury go directly into the lining of his lower intestine.
I think we can agree that was definitely a dude.
Yeah.
Also, why
Weird.
get multiple thermometers? Just go get a cucumber. Like, what the fuck is the problem here?
He did it at the doc. Like he was an inpatient at the hospital.
Was he
Oh, it's
doing,
desperate times.
Yeah, was
Yeah.
he doing QC on like thermometer results or like?
No, I
It's like,
think
this
it was.
is all I got.
Yeah.
I don't mind, like, whatever. You want to shove an inanimate object up your butt, but, like, what really bothers me is the gerbils. It makes me sad.
Is that actually true though?
I think it's true. They
I know
take,
that-
like, a tube and then send the gerbil down through the tube. I feel like there's, like, an actor that
Richard Gere is that, of course, where my head is.
I was like, there's, like, a famous actor.
But
yeah.
I don't think. First off, how horrible. Let's go innocent until proven guilty on this. I'm gonna assume that Richard Gere is not like tripoded right now with a fucking, like a wrapping paper tube full of gerbils jammed in his.
I would cry. Poor gerbil.
Let's assume that he's not doing that. How horrible would it be to have your name recognized in association with that? Because you and I both immediately jumped there. So it's not something. And Michael, have you ever heard of that with Richard Gere?
Not with Richard Gere. I've heard of the concept.
Okay. Go to your personal fucking browser and put in Richard Gere gerbil. Don't you dare do it on mine.
Don't even put in gerbil.
But
I
how
bet if
fucking
you just
horrible, like again, innocent until proven guilty. How fucking horrible would it be to be associated with that?
Well, is it worse for it to, like, not be true or for it to be true and then people know?
Both are bad.
Because
There's
you can
no-
advocate and be like, fuck you, that's not true. But if it's true, you're just, like,
There's no
living in
sunshine.
that shame.
Yeah, there's no sunshine
Yeah.
anywhere in this equation. But
why is it Richard Gere? Like
That's what I'm saying.
I'm
Who
going to
knows?
assume it's not true. It's probably not true.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
But like where there's smoke, there's fire. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But also, why gerbils?
I was gonna
Michael,
ask the
again,
same
on your
thing.
personal browser, please Google why people put gerbils in their butt.
Well, I've got an Urban Dictionary up here.
This is the beauty of having somebody in the room with you who can look this shit. Oh, perfect. Gerbling.
yeah.
Has a t-
Oh, it's a.
I didn't know
it's
that
a
was
verb.
the term.
Jariko, do you want to go ahead and read the description?
Well, A, gerbling doesn't exist.
Damn it.
What does that even mean?
B, they're very good at getting the thing out afterwards. How can B be true if A is true?
Well, I think what it's saying is there are no cases.
Oh, my God. There's his name right there. Richard Gere.
That's
Yeah.
So either it's not true or everyone's really good at removing them. So it's like it's an urban legend.
Gerbling, having a live rodent or small animal, usually a gerbil, and using some sort of tube, forcing the gerbil into one's asshole. No medical case has ever been recorded of someone needing to remove the gerbil from one's, plural, anus. So we must now come to the conclusion that either A, gerbling does not exist, B, they are very good at getting the thing out afterwards. Gerbling has many famous cases, such as Richard Gere reportedly having a wild session with the furry animal.
Ah, Jesus.
So let's assume that A is true.
Yeah.
Fucking Richard Gere's name is still associated with it.
Yeah, why?
Do you think he's aware of that?
Oh,
fuck yeah.
yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
it's like the fifth auto fill in.
When you just put in
Yeah.
Richard Gere.
I just put in Richard Gere, like the fifth
It's
one
Gere.
down is
Don't be a
is
fucking savage.
Richard
It's
Gere,
Richard Gere.
gerbil,
God, you're a piece of shit.
RGG.
When we're talking about a man who puts an animal up his ass, you get his name right.
He's candidate mayonnaise.
Oh, here's a nice. I would actually 100% read this article. Scroll up a little bit, Michael. If I saw this in my feed, a highly questionable cultural history of Richard Gere's ass gerbil, I am reading that.
Hey, I'm going to put that on my LinkedIn as my last paid position. Like,
This is already this. Whoa, Prince getting his ribs removed to suck his own dick. What?
I thought that was Marilyn Manson.
it eventually became a rumor about Marilyn Manson instead.
Oh, I never heard that it was Prince. He just like passed that
Oh yeah,
buck.
fuck yeah, Mike. I like where your head's at. Click on that. This is becoming my favorite episode so far already.
Oh, multiple celebs.
Here's the thing.
If you were a
you're-
celebrity, couldn't you find somebody else to do that pretty much at will?
Lots of people. Yeah.
So many
at
people.
will. That's
Why would
why
you
it's
do that?
bullshit. Like,
Or do you do that because you can find somebody basically at will? So
then it's
Because
boring.
it's so boring that you're just like, I'll just take care of this myself.
By
Probably do
removing
it
my
better
ribs?
anyway.
I guess.
Wow, that's crazy. Anyway, I'm going to put on my LinkedIn.
I have a Prince
21
tattoo.
20
Yeah, around my belly button.
Do you have all your ribs?
I do have all my ribs.
Why the belly button?
I don't know. I just wanted it. I didn't want the tribal sun. I wanted something on my stomach, and I really do like Prince.
Such as the artist formerly known as Prince?
Correct. Yeah.
Which
He
was still known as
um,
Prince. Even when they would say the artist formerly known as Prince, they would just go, you guys know, Prince.
Yeah.
It's like the guy in the fight last night. Like he changed his name to just King.
That's kind of a baller move. His fight name was still his full previous legal name.
Was
but
it?
his new legal name was just King.
It was the introduction to his new name. They're slow rolling it.
I wonder when he gets pulled over for, say, rolling a stop sign, and there's just a name.
Yeah.
Like, sir, license and registration. Like, here you go, and it just says King.
Yeah.
I'm like, this isn't real.
I was going to say, if I was a cop, I'd be like, I got some fucking questions here.
You like hold it up to the light.
Michael, thank you for the thorough and robust research on dribbling.
How
Absolutely.
did that happen?
I don't know. I don't know how we got there.
So anyway,
so-
Jenna Bakken.
Go ahead. Where are you from?
Originally from Atlanta, Georgia. I grew up in the South, bounced around between Tennessee, Georgia. Born in Tennessee.
Yeah. Why were we bouncing around?
My parents got divorced when I was young, so they kind of both ended up moving, and then every other year I'd kind of like live with my mom, live with my dad.
How
until I
old
was
were you when they got divorced?
8. I was 8 years old.
How much of it do you remember?
Not a lot. I remember being sad and be like, man, this sucks. I remember like the heavy or like feeling the heavy emotion, the feeling of the feeling, if you will. And then just being all right, but then being bounced around and then going from like having a bunch of older siblings in the house to being like the only child in some circumstances. Like some years it would be like just me and my dad or me and my mom because my siblings are older and like moved out.
How was the back and forth?
Oh, it sucked. It sucked, but I think it prepared me for the military, just moving around, bouncing around.
Was it shitty just because you didn't feel like you had a place where you could like sink your teeth in and call home?
I think it definitely kind of shaped my relationship with people and like made me more introverted. And sometimes I probably like go into a relationship not in a healthy way or used to, but now I'm aware of it. Of being like, I'm gonna be gone in a year, or, you know. So, but yeah, I don't know. It not that I had trouble making friends, but I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna be gone in a year, so see you later. But again, it's the same thing for the military, except for when you're an adult, you're like, all right, I actually like you. We'll be friends for the rest of the life, rest of our lives. Yeah, it definitely affected me. I think as a kid, I tried to pretend that it didn't, but then I was used to like having older siblings and those, like looking up to them, and then I started hanging out with like older kids in the neighborhood and like getting into trouble and stuff. So yeah, it definitely their divorce affected me and shaped me for sure.
Did it change your impression or thoughts on marriage?
Yeah, I think so. I'm twice divorced now myself.
Slow learner, I get it.
Yeah. I really gotta sink those lessons in. I'm like, just to be sure,
Fuck.
Yeah, I think my dad got remarried a couple times. My mom did not, and is still with like the same guy, and found a really great guy. So he's actually was my godfather. Was there at my baptism. They went to high school together, and then years and years later ended up. So it was kind of a cool story for them, but it shaped my perception on marriage and relationships. And but I will say my parents got it right, because my dad has kids with a few different ladies, and they all came together for us as kids. So it's probably weird for some families, but I'm like super thankful, and I think it's the one thing that they got right is like they put all their shit aside for us kids, and like we all have holidays and things like that together.
Still?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That was probably
My dad and all his ex-wives.
All the ex-wives are there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that could be awkward at the Christmas dinner.
Not, the ones that have kids with him.
It's like people who
Not all the wives had kids with them.
served with some guys who had siblings who attempted the pipeline and quit.
Yeah.
And they recount stories of like Thanksgiving dinner, like, "Hey, you fucking quitter! Can you pass me the mashed potatoes?"
Yeah,
Yikes.
Which is a smaller version of like having your ex-wife at the dinner table. I could see that shit getting sideways.
Yeah. No, they had their moments for sure, but not. They try to keep it away from us, and always came together for us. So that was actually like really cool, and like you still to this day.
It's my biggest concern when I initiated my divorce was that I would ruin my kids' perception of marriage, or love, or relationships in general. That was the biggest thing that I thought about. Still not sure how it's gonna end up, but
Yeah,
seems like they're doing okay.
I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think we
Jericho's
all
got
are.
it all figured out, but I don't.
Yep.
Yeah, just don't ever get married.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you'll ever get married?
If I find the right guy. But
Totally.
yeah, no. I mean, if I were dating somebody that was important to them, I really don't give a shit.
Are your parents still married, or were
Yeah.
they okay?
My parents are still married. My brother got married when he was, 19, right out of high school.
Strong. I advise that for most young men.
He's still married.
Yeah.
They're still going strong. So I don't know. I don't know what it is that that
What's
gene
the
missed
divorce
me.
rate in the regiment?
Oh, it's super high.
104%.
It's probably around about where the rest of the soft community is. But I think from what I've seen, and this is just anecdotal, like me looking at other communities, like the Naval Special Warfare and SF and all that, we had a lot less married guys in Ranger Regiment. Just a lot of single dudes. Just a lot.
Why do you think that is?
I think we come in younger, and then that becomes kind of our thing. And we don't. I think the general purpose. So, like, it's a cliche in the Army that guys get married young to somebody who sucks, and blah blah blah. I think that a lot of people that go in the military, they get married young because they're lonely and they don't have they're homesick or whatever.
Or they want that BAH.
You don't feel that in Ranger Battalion. Like, you get there and you're like, this is my family. You don't need to go out and seek some other form of acceptance.
You can
You're
just
good to
say
go.
in shorter terms that you think that you're better than the rest of us. That's what that sounds like.
I was trying
Sounds
to.
like a super roundabout way of being like, basically, we just have
I
better
wasn't
people.
lonely.
Yeah.
Well-
I wasn't lonely because
I wasn't
my community
desperate.
was so welcoming, and I had great mentors.
No, kind of the opposite of that. It's kind of the opposite of that. Like, they indoctrinate you so hard that you're just like, this is all I fucking need. I don't need anything else, and you don't really know anything else.
So they get to you early and brainwash you, and like, this is my family. I'm
And now
married
you're
to the
probably gonna-
regiment.
You're probably going to die alone now, Jericho.
We all do.
Not if you're in a car with somebody in a fiery crash.
Or in a plane.
Yeah, or
Or
a
a
plane.
Or a submarine that goes down.
Oh,
the Titanic.
God.
Or I just give you a really hardcore koala bear hug on your parachute, so it does open, but it just won't open.
If you had $1 billion, would you have gotten on that sub to the Titanic?
No,
I would not
No.
have.
No.
I don't think I would have either. Which
I
leads me to
am-
believe, why the fuck would anybody else?
Yeah, I'm
Hubris.
confused about it.
There's people that just don't understand how dangerous the world can be.
Yeah. And then sometimes your asshole inverts with your forehead at fucking 9,000 meters underwater at the Titanic.
I mean, instantaneously, though. So
There-
like,
yeah,
they were
there's-
gone.
There are people in the world who have never had problems. 'Cause, face it, about 99.9% of the problems we have in life can be solved with money, right? So if you have endless amounts of money, you've never really had problems. You don't understand problem solving, or that things can actually have an effect on you.
I know some very wealthy people who have a lot of problems. And actually, their kids probably have the problems worse.
Do they know that?
They get to a point where I think that they realize it. I think what they are detached from in the beginning is the kind of the station in life that they're starting from. I actually take that back. I haven't found. I think everybody has problems. The person who developed and grew the wealth is generally doing okay. The next generation, oftentimes, I think, has some problems.
Yeah. Being able to go through adversity and building your resilience and all that stuff is so important. And if you're from one of those families where you never had to really solve any problems, it fucks you up.
Yeah. I could buy that.
You're not prepared for the world in the capacity in which you think you are, but I mean, problems are definitely just like trauma. They're subjective, and like I have to remind myself of that sometimes because I'm like, you don't have fucking real problems, and I'm like, to you that's a real problem. Yeah, to you that's a real problem, and like so it's again subjective, but like that in lies the problem itself is like you don't have that genuine hardship, but like. It doesn't need to be a ladder or a tier, but I think there's some things in life that you need to go through to build that character for sure. And
like being imploded in a submarine.
Yeah,
that's a real fucking problem.
The internet's amazing. The memes where it was like it showed the mortality, like the Titanic. It was like a spike, and then like a little. God damn it! Fucking people, and that was within 3 hours of them going missing.
I know.
What I will say is, like, I mean, it is, like, we're joking about it. It's fucked up. It's definitely sketchy. We're like, damn, I wouldn't be on that thing. But, like, immediately, the internet was like, meme. I'm like, yo, there's people on there, like, really about to die. This is kind of fucked
they were
up.
already dead.
Well, now we know they were definitely already dead. But, like, at the time, you know, we're like...
But at the time...
Like, oh, let's make a meme about it.
It finally stopped that fucking ooh-wee song. So that actually was our lever out of that bullshit.
Yeah.
Because I would like sit at the coffee shop and you would hear people like you knew they were on Instagram. It was like ooh-wee.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Oh my god! For about I think 2 weeks, that's the only sound that I fucking heard.
Yeah,
you actually made one of your little Jariko thoughts about it. You're like, for the love of Christ, please stop this shit.
Yeah, please, God.
It's so catchy.
It is catchy.
I'm like repeating it in my head. I'm like, shit.
It's good.
It's good.
I have a. What is the deepest that scenario could have taken place and they could have survived in some way, shape, or form? Like a structural
hull failure,
like a structural integrity failure on a submarine, and like you're like, shit, and maybe you have like a tank or like an external.
It could
tank.
have been like maybe a couple atmospheres.
I don't know what that means. How many feet is that?
33 feet for the first atmosphere.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Were you not qualified to dive in the military?
No.
I want to get him to dive. He's scared.
No, we don't dive. By land, sea, or air, that means like
He's way
on the
scared
top
to
of the
jump
sea.
out of planes than to jump into the water.
You never did diving. So, you know, atmosphere, you're talking about like the increasing in like the pressure. Michael, can you look up at how many atmospheres because that sub imploded at what, like 9,000 feet?
Yeah.
Where it exploded?
Just the depth and how many atmospheres, and then if you want to let's educate the Army guy here.
Have you seen like the Coke can that goes down and then just
is it a full one or an empty one?
I'm not sure if it's empty or full, but like as the Coke can sinks down into the water, it just like the pressure just squeezes in on it from the pressure of the water.
I don't know.
So it'll be hard on the body.
If the hull failed or like water started getting into the vessel, it's like the same thing. Maybe people don't know this. If you launch a vehicle into the water, one of the worst things you can do is keep all the windows up for a slow drip of the water coming in. It's actually better to roll the windows down so the water comes in so you can actually open the door.
Yeah.
So if the hull was failing but it was like just water coming in, they wouldn't be able to open the door until the fucking thing was full.
Yeah.
Then they'd have to equalize the pressure. I don't know if there actually is a survivable.
Yeah.
Because you have to be able to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
I guess you could have a tank. I'd say it'd have to be above 100 feet.
Yeah, my whole like underwater. I watched Das Boot. I've watched The Hunt for Red October. You know, I'm pretty much an expert in submarine stuff.
Yep.
But I do know there's no fucking way I would get in a submarine that's going underwater at all. Like, oh, we're just going to go under like 10 feet. I don't care. I'm not going in there.
What'd you find, Michael?
Well, I would get into like a military sub. I wouldn't get into like.
Looks like it was at 4,000 meters, which is 400 atmospheres.
400 times the force of gravity.
Oh. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Fudge. Yeah, that's a lot.
It's not survivable.
Yeah.
There's an
yes.
animation of what it likely.
Does this one have the blood?
Yeah. So, also, that would likely have occurred in about a fucking 18th of a second.
So they suffered not at all, not whatsoever. Just like dead.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. The last thing to probably go through their head was their asshole.
Yeah.
Would be my guess.
Well, you remember Jim from the 777.
Yes.
He'd been to the bottom of the Marianas Trench or whatever. Is that about the? That's way deeper than they
Bottom
were.
of the Marianas Trench. Correct me if I'm wrong, Michael. Is the deepest known portion of the ocean, right?
I believe so.
Yes.
Fuck that. I don't. And he also said it was super boring, so I have no interest in doing that.
Not only is it, I would imagine it's boring, it takes a long time to get down there, then it takes a long time to get back up. And with camera technology, these are 6K cameras. Let's just strap one of those down there, send me the link to the YouTube video.
Yeah.
I'll pay way less than the $1 million or whatever they charged and not risk my life getting into that submarine.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
just
want that.
cold and dark. Like, what do you even see down there? Like, at the bottom, there's different, like, creatures that kind of glow, right? And weird entities down
He said
there
all-
at the bottom.
Jenna,
No?
couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Okay.
He said all they saw was like stuff. It looked like wet toilet paper floating by.
All
Like little-
that means to me is that somebody has got a little bit of an excessive income.
Yeah,
You know, it's like I have so much money that I want to go look at the bottom of the ocean and see a 1 square meter piece of mud.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on marriage, Jericho? Pro con?
My thoughts
Yeah.
on it. My thoughts on marriage are basically the same as they are on like religion or any kind of like ethos that you feel. If you're using it to provide good for yourself and the people in your circle, then it's amazing and it's great. But I think it gets twisted into something that gives people guilt. It gets twisted into something that makes people money, and it's pretty fucking unnecessary. Like I said, if I were in a relationship with a girl that was like, hey, it's really important to me to be married, I'd be like, okay. But I don't ever wake up being like, I'm gonna marry that girl. You know what I mean? Like I don't care. If I'm committed to a person and they're committed to me, I don't understand the need for this like ideological or governmental officiating of my relationship. Does that make sense?
It does. Jenna, we haven't found him the right woman yet.
The right woman hasn't found him.
I was engaged once, but I was like 23.
I thought that you didn't feel the need to do that because you guys were so much better and all you needed to do was your job. So I thought, fuck off. So, Jenna.
No, I was like 23.
It is really weird to get the government involved in your relationship. I found
They
that
only
it
come in at the
at the end, yes, and that's what I found. This end of this last marriage, I was like, I have to ask the government to end this fucking relationship, and I do not like that.
Were you hesitant to get remarried?
Am I now hesitant to get
When
remarried?
you were coming out of
or
your
no?
first divorce, how long were you married the first time?
Not long. We were both dual military, and deployments and PTS and TBI, and we were just really young and going through a lot. And like, she's super rad, but we were not ready to be married, and just kind of, I think there was like pressure from the Army for us to get married. Also,
Really?
yeah. Well, she was an officer. I was enlisted. So
Controversial.
correct. So, if we were a straight couple, it was before Don't Ask, Don't Tell. It was like right before it. We were already married. There was some like, I won't speak fully on it because it's not just my story to tell. But it just got a little bit mucky. So it was like, kind of trying to save the careers. And
How was it handled prior to the Don't Ask, Don't Tell? So people knew, even though it technically violated, what was it, be DOD policy at that point?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like, but if you have like a year after commission or something like that, if you know before we met in college, or she was in college, I wasn't. I didn't go until after I retired. So you have like this time, like either get married, like shit, or get off the pot. Like you can either have this.
You're talking about an enlisted to officer relationship?
Yeah.
And at that time, since the Don't Ask, Don't Tell had not been repealed, did the military really care? How do they treat you guys about that?
Not well. That's, I don't speak about it publicly, again, because it's not fully my story. And it kind of hit the fan when I was like in the middle of retiring, and like left a really nasty taste in my mouth. I'm like, I almost died for you guys several times. Like, and now you're gonna like shit on me as I'm retiring, like for my marriage, and
We're
try to
talking
tell
about the
me
military, right?
correct. Yeah,
that checks out.
Yeah, correct. And they had to go back and she stayed in. I retired. They had to go back and recant some stuff. It was just this weird thing because it was like, oh, don't ask, don't tell. But we got married within the thing, but you don't recognize my marriage. But then, like, the old BC and Sergeant Major knew, but we were very professional. My first sergeant, my commander, like, everyone knew. My fucking first sergeant's married to his old company commander. Don't come in here and, like, take my rank as I'm retiring. Like, what are you doing? So... yeah, left a nasty taste in my mouth. But there was just a bunch of memorandums had to get written and typed up and sent up to the Army Review Board to try to save some face about things.
Did it make you hesitant about round 2?
You know, it didn't. I knew that I was young and
how old were you when you first got married?
Early 20s.
Same.
Yeah.
I was 23 when I got married the first time.
I was there. I think I was 23 as well. I was like 23, 24. I retired when I was like 26, 25, 26, something like that. So I was young. Yeah, it didn't really, I mean, I was just young and dumb still. So like my last marriage, that was like a real test of me to like go through some hardship and like do it the right way. Because I let like the Army leave a bitter taste in my mouth about some things and how I was just kind of angry about a lot of shit. But my ending of my last marriage was like, I'm gonna fucking do this right. There's no right way, but like handle it right emotionally but now it has changed my view on marriage. I think that it's weird for the government to get involved. If I had kids, I would probably get married again. But I just don't think there's really any reason to be. I think I would definitely do a big ceremony in front of my friends and family and do that commitment, like, for myself and my partner. But, like...
leave the gov out?
Yeah, leave the government out. Like, get the fuck out of my life. Like,
no RSVP for the fucking government.
Yeah, you know, so it's... I think it's about that commitment that you make, not the government and the paperwork and all that kind of weirds me out.
Michael, what are your thoughts on marriage? Just out of curiosity, as the youngest person in the room, curious what the newer generations think of marriage.
I'd like to get married personally. Obviously, I don't have
what
a
kind
lot
of dude
of
are you looking
experience. Something kind of like Jariko.
Oh, this might work out.
Serendipitous.
Let's
go. But I have a good view on it because my parents are still married, and both of their parents have been married for forever.
That's awesome.
So to me, it's like, oh, this seems to be working for those people. I'd like to do that as well. But I also know that the divorce rate right now is like 60% or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about this. I think, at least on between my mom's side and my dad's side, I might be the first divorce in our family.
Yeah.
Really?
Fuck. Yeah.
You piece of shit.
Yeah. I try hard sometimes. So it does work.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. It seems like I talked to my own kids about it. I have birthday seasons in full swing. So my daughter just turned 15. My middle son, peepingtomwindows.com. It's not a big deal.
So
in
good.
the Flathead Valley. Yeah, he's just like, I need to make a website. What do you think I should put on there? I'm like, whoa. You went from like, I don't want to call it that to like, now we need to have a full-fledged business plan. However, let's meet this afternoon.
Yeah.
He turns 18 next week, which, by the way, we're doing a dual party with him in Denver. It's called Glizzy Fest 2023. It's not a big deal.
Hot dogs.
It is, yeah. I learned that term from him, actually. And then my oldest turns 20 in October. Very different thoughts on marriage and the value of marriage.
I will say, to be fair, when people are like, oh, I got a divorce and no one else in my... There are some relationships, not necessarily our parents' generation, but
I don't know. It's totally normal to live in different sides of the house and have bedrooms.
Yeah. No, that was
Yeah, like
thing.
what's healthier? Like let's just end it clean, or like let's live miserably.
I tell you what's not healthy: stay together for the kids. Fuck you. Worst advice ever.
Yeah.
Worst advice
I think that messes the kids up worse.
People like to think that children are not smart and that they don't have processing ability. Holy shit. They see everything you don't want them to. They hear everything that you don't want them to. And it leaves. And that's why I asked you about your experience, because my daughter was about she was a little bit older than you were. But like I said, it was one of the main things that I thought about and was concerned about. So,
I see my little sister. My dad's recently divorced, and I was the youngest. There's a 27-year age gap between me and my little sister, and she's now 9. And the divorce is final, but it was like kind of drawn out for a couple years. But so around the same age, and so I just like it was weird because it was like I'm seeing it. I'm seeing myself. I'm like, man, I know this is gonna fuck her up in some capacity, and like it sucks because like how do you protect them? But you have to have a little bit of trauma so you're funny, but like not enough that you're, can't get your shit together.
Yeah.
Like,
why'd you want to join the military?
Family influence. My
Military
grandparents. No, my parents were not military, but my grandparents, maternal grandparents, met in the Marines, and so my Nana was a Marine, and she was just super influential in my life. And so, like my great grandparents on both sides, Navy. So there is that history. My uncle was a sniper in Vietnam. So I have that family history, but I would say it's mostly because of my Nana. Like her being a Marine, and she was just like a cool lady.
Yeah, I bet she was.
She was just fun. She taught me how to ride a bike and her and my grandpa, and then she gave me a bunch of pointers on how to drive. She raced cars on the, stock cars on the dirt track. So she'd be like, I remember I was like probably like 6, being so young, like sitting in her little like G6 Pontiac or whatever it is, like something like she thinks it's fast, I think it's fast, and she's like getting on the interstate, just like gripping and ripping it. She's like, "Your grandpa can't do this." I'm like, what?
Jesus.
But she, little things like, truly, she was like, accelerate through this turn, don't brake in this turn, brake here, accelerate here, and like she was just like little tiny things like that. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
A Renaissance woman.
Yeah, and so. She was the matriarch of the family and just a Marine. And
so how early on did you know you wanted to go the military path?
Always. I hate to admit this, but I would like have a little notepad and walk around because my grandfather was a SP in the Marines, and then got out to be a private detective. I would like walk around the house writing people tickets for like leaving the toilet seat up and things like that.
Shit.
I still do that.
Fucking narc.
Seriously, undercover narc.
But then I never wrote one single ticket in the actual military. I was an MP. I went in as an MP and never wrote one ticket. I did.
That makes you the anomaly, for clarity.
Yeah, I actually like got into it when a desk sergeant. So the difference between like a civilian cop and a military cop, we don't have some quota. I don't have to. It's officer's discretion. I don't have to write a ticket if I don't want to. I don't have to. And then this desk sergeant was like, "Oh, we're gonna write X amount of tickets today." I'm like, "Oh, that's fucked up. Like, what? Why would you just like have that quota of like I'm setting out to like." It didn't make sense to me. I didn't like it.
Did you ever ask her why or where that came from?
I just was like, I'm not doing that, And then I had the supervisor, the shift supervisor, move me to a different area because they were setting up like speed traps and they were like writing tickets for like 1K over. We were in Germany. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, and that's why your cars get your tires slit and people write shit on. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, why would we do that? Why would we fuck over our people? Like 1K over? Like, get out of here. Like, this is crazy. So
0.6 of a mile over the speed limit.
Right. It's like, I'm like, what? Like, their chain of command should be cussing us out, not calling because they're mad that you know what I mean? Like, I didn't like it.
What year did you join?
2006.
Okay.
So
Boot camp.
I joined.
Marines?
No, Army. I went Army, yeah. I went to military school. And I was getting into a little trouble, or like I could see the writing on the wall. Again, just hanging out with people I shouldn't be hanging out with, dabbling.
Rapscallion,
Yeah, dabbling in some things. And I was like 15. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna mess my life up if I like continue on this. And so I asked my parents to send me to military school.
You asked them to send you to military school. I think that's usually probably the opposite of how that goes.
Correct. Yeah. So I was like, just send me off and let me go figure it out and graduate early and then go ahead and join the Marines is what I thought. And then in military school, our guidance counselors were basically, I took the ASVAB at 15. Like, they're putting us in line to go into military. So all the recruiters come and talk to our guidance counselors and talk to us. And I was 17. My parents signed me over, and I thought I was going to go join the Marines. The Marine recruiter was late, and the Army recruiter made a lot of sense. Like I'm like thankful that I did it. As a female, I wouldn't have had the career or the opportunities, I think, at the time. And I was like integrated into the males and like lived in the tents with them, and like we did everything together. It's a family, and like it's very different in the Marine. I have Marine friends who are like, oh, I never saw a female, and I was like, what? Like I lived in the tents with my dudes. So yeah, and it afforded me opportunities, I think, in leadership that maybe would have been a little bit harder. And I don't know that for sure. I mean, I'm just going off of what I assume and
How many
my
years did you do?
perception. 6.5. I want to say I was like from 2006 to 13.
Yeah.
I was deployed 9, 10, 11, 12, all Afghanistan. Not for 4 years, obviously, but a piece
During
of each
those
year.
years?
Yeah, during those years.
Where'd they send you in Afghanistan?
My first deployment, I was RC East, Paktia province. I was like all over. And then my second deployment was Kandahar. I was in the city.
What year was that?
9, 10, I was in Paktia. And then 11, 12, I was in Kandahar.
Okay, we just missed each other. I was down in near Kandahar in Nabahar province, 2010. What the heck are you
Yeah.
doing? What's the role of an MP overseas?
So my first deployment, I got whored out a lot to different units because they needed females to search. It was like FET before the FET. And I was working when I first deployed. I was working a little bit with our intel cell. And then so the commander would, and we were battle space owners as a company unit, just the way the cards fell, I guess, momentarily, which I know is like super rare. So we had our hands in a little bit of everything. So I say, like, I was all over the province running missions and getting attached. I did missions with Blackwater, but they weren't Blackwater at the time. I don't remember their name.
Wasn't it like
At the
G
time.
or something like that?
It's something weird,
Yeah.
but it was Blackwater.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They used to do the rotator flights with like equipment, and they still had the Blackwater stickers on the or the helicopter
Yeah.
frames, but they were called something else.
Yeah, with the paw and the
I think it was like G or something like
Yeah, I
that.
took a fight with them. It was still Blackwater, but they called
Yeah.
something else. Yeah,
Yeah.
same
The
logos.
Dude with a handlebar mustache from fucking Vietnam out there flying stuff. Just crushing it though. Just
Yeah.
fucking.
Yeah.
So they had you going out on target and doing a lot of the integration with the females.
Yeah, so just a search. Honestly,
Yeah.
it was just another gun, but I just needed to search the other females, so I just was running and gunning.
That's good.
It was fun. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I wanted to go MP because I didn't want to sit behind a desk. I
Yeah.
wanted to like be in it, and
I don't think a lot of people would associate the MP career path with running and gunning over and.
yeah,
I
they
think it,
don't.
you know.
But I mean, at that time, we were basically just infantry. I mean, I was attached to infantry. I was
Yeah.
attached to Cav. They got like my honorary spurs out there. We're just running mission with them. So I worked
Actual spurs?
no, just a certificate. I wish I got the actual spurs.
That would be dope.
Do you
I
not know about the Cav, Stetsons, and Spurs traditions, Andy?
Let me ask you a better question. Why in the fuck would I know about it?
Because it's amazing.
It's an army
It is
amazing
cool.
thing. Do you know how to sing Anchors Away? I don't either, for clarity, but apparently it's a thing in the Navy. I'm just pointing out.
I know the chorus.
Do tell. Stetson and Spurs?
Yeah, so like
Please tell me there's a point in your career where you get issued both.
Yes.
Fuck yes.
only if you're a Cav guy or gal.
CAV?
Cav, yeah, like cavalry,
But at
armored,
this point, we're not talking horses. We're talking probably armored.
armored cavalry.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they go on they'll go on like rides and like
On horse rides?
yeah. They'll still do it to get the spurs and stuff like that. I don't know
Very
now.
well
I mean,
back
I've been
now.
out for a long time, but
And they do like, I don't know if it's like once a year how it works, but they do this. I don't even know what it's called, but they call it like, well, she did it, like getting your spurs or whatever. Like you just get hazed for like 2 days or something, and then you get to wear a Stetson.
Issued Stetson, or you have to buy your own?
You have to buy your own. And spurs, literal spurs, and you put the spurs on your like army boots for like 1 day a month or something. Like on payday, you do it or some shit. I don't know. It's weird.
The military has some of the single dumbest traditions on the fucking face of the planet.
It's kind of similar to what's the thing they do in the Navy when you cross the equator and you like.
The shellback.
It's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've never even heard of that.
yeah, it's the same.
You are not missing out on much.
Okay,
I was
okay.
on an aircraft carrier one time when we did cross the equator, and they asked us if we wanted to participate, and told them to get the fuck out of our berthing space. They took it incredibly serious. I know it's a big deal for vessels, right? Somebody who's on a naval vessel. They have, I think, one for the Arctic, but they like keep track. Like it's shellbacks, and then in a certain number of time, you're something else. It's hazing. They like clear the entire flight deck of an aircraft carrier, and they just fuck with everybody who's never been across the equator.
You piece of shit. You've never flown across the equator.
Can't believe you haven't been this far before.
I've fucking been in the military for 10 years. I'm on my 7th wife. I've been bankrupt 3 times, motherfucker. Like, well, I'm a shellback.
I'm going to spray you with a hose.
That's what they did. It was like, I swear it was like shaving cream and hoses.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Like, I hate this.
Yeah. All right, so continue through your military career. What else are you up to?
Yeah, so I was in Paktia province. I did that. I was working with the ANA and the AMP, so the police and the army. Yeah. It's kind of crazy because it's like I got there, and at this point I'm like, okay, we've been here for like 10 years, 6 years, whatever the time was at that time, and I'm like, every unit before me has gone over this training with you. You've been doing joint missions for years. Why is it like training a toddler? Like in a like.
Pause, please. I'll explain it. Michael, please Google on YouTube Afghans doing jumping jacks.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, correct. Have you? I had to give a land nav class to a bunch of Afghan National Police.
I actually was tasked with teaching them one time to use a GPS. And
Oh,
I
Jesus.
stopped the class when I was trying to explain to them contour lines on maps and the elevation of where we were, and they
Correct.
stopped me and said, "We are at sea level." This was in Koust, by the way. We're at sea level, and there's a large berm that keeps the ocean away from Afghanistan. And I said, "What the fuck did you just say?" He goes, "The ocean is held back by the berm that prevents the water from coming into Afghanistan." I said, "We don't need to do class today." Yes. Yeah. Send it, Mike. Yeah.
And some of them, I'll digress and say some of them are actually like super great and have been like shoulder to shoulder standing next to them
Yes.
in a firefight, and I've been like, fuck yes, this is the man I want next to me. And there's some that I'm like, if you don't get the fuck away from me.
That guy on the end is a fucking animal.
Oh, dude, the third from the right is a savage.
That's the guy who's...
I'm a little teacup. All right. And
That's the guy that's going to take your kneecap out accidentally in a firefight.
I don't want
On the
people to
ND.
think that I'm making fun of the ANA and AMP. What I'm making fun of is specifically the people in that video, just for clarity. There were a few times where we were co-located with an ANA AMP compound, and I have watched, I don't know if it was the ANA or AMP, we were getting indirect fire, and an ANA dude or NAP guy shot an RPG.
I was just going to do that. I knew it.
Across the compound, like directly past one of these other, and I'm just like,
It's a fucking norm.
I'm gonna die. We had a dude, I think I've told this story. We called him fucking Rocket Man. The standard ANA, like woodland camo pants. He would roll leather jacket, and his primary weapon system was an RPG-7. Mm-hmm. He would clear buildings with it.
We're all dying.
Motherfucker would go through bazaars and just be like, shh. Like, standing in the threshold of a fucking door, pointing an RPG, would have killed himself, obviously, with the fucking backblast. It wouldn't have even have armed. But that, yeah. And then we were on target one day. Never saw him fire it, and all of a sudden I hear, and I look over, and fucking my man in a leather jacket's got the biggest shit-eating grin I've ever seen. This fucking tube is smoking, and I'm like, Rocket.
Finally.
That
He's
motherfucker,
like-
dude. For clarity, he pointed it and fired it in a direction we were not receiving fire from. But he let it loose.
Yeah.
Can you imagine clearing this room and your primary weapons, fucking RPG-7, from the threshold of the door?
It's going to clear the room.
You'd be better off turning around and firing it the other direction and just getting everybody with the overpressure.
Yeah. It's going to clear the room, though. You're not graded on technique, just results.
Yeah, I lived part-time. We got kicked out. We lived on a cop out there in Zormount, and there wasn't a U.S. presence, I think, for like 5-6 years before we got out there initially. And
That was the same thing out at Nabahar where we were, too. It was like a forgotten province.
yeah, and so we got out there and had the honor of dealing with all that, of not having any presence out there. So it was kind of heavy out there for a minute. And then we had a cop out there, which was just a shitty little small cop, and they were like, oh, well, we're condemning this cop, you gotta go out to the DC and so like live with the Afghans. And we're like filling Hescos and sandbags ourselves, and I'm like, they like literally want us to die. Like, I'm trying to go home. Like, what is happening? Like, why are we out here paying these kids $1 to try to help us like fill sandbags and get a little bit of security up there? And but we were embedded with them.
How'd the A&P and ANA treat you?
Well, I had a shaved head also, so I think they kind of dug it, confused me, like, oh, you kind of look like a boy, but you're a girl, so Allah would approve.
Is kind of their jam.
Correct.
If I'm being honest.
Correct. I had a guy like hold me at knife point. I almost shot him, and I cut it, but I was like, at that point, I already know what it feels like to shoot someone. I'm like, get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to hold this on my conscience. Like, it's not worth it. But because I wouldn't like, and he was at A&P, and he like wanted to be my friend. He was like, "Why, like, hold me at knife point?" As I was sergeant of the guard out at provincial
Traditionally a friendly
headquarters.
gesture.
Yeah. Why won't you be my friend? All I want to do is talk to you. And I have my fucking weapon on me. I'm like, am I about to shoot you? Like, I like took a couple steps. I had some space, but I'm like, I had every right to like shoot him. He's coming at me with the knife. I was in bounds to like, I could fucking kill you right now. But it's like, yeah. So the Afghans kind of loved it, but I had they knew I was a girl. I had a shaved head. They were fine with it. I was never, besides that and like them trying to kill me, I was never disrespected by any of like the national police or anything like that. I had a pretty good relationship with them. And we lived part time like at the DC on that first deployment. My second deployment, for part of it, I was doing like a week out running missions, and then a week living at provincial headquarters with the national police and out there, and ANA because there's a General Wardak out there. So again, just the mixture, the police and the army, and just running those joint missions. But I remember one time though we were out on a TCP. We had been there. It was supposed to be really quick. It was actually when fucking Bergdahl walked off, and at first I remember being like,
He just got released.
yeah, I saw that. That's why I said, oh, actually. Yeah. They like dropped all his charges, which is fucking crazy.
Did you ever see the original letters that he wrote?
No, I didn't.
We had that in our intel packages. That motherfucker should have rot in prison for the rest of his life.
I didn't see that. I was in intel at the time, and so we got word like preemptively, like right when it happened, and we got spun up to go do TCPs, and we were checking every car going out of the country, like we were trying to search for him, and we ended up being out there for a week. I was like, we were living in the ASB, we're running out of water, running out of gas, we're like wiping with our, like cutting our socks, wiping, we're like, what the fuck? And at first, like the first day we rolled up.
Like oftentimes I hunt with 2 sleeves and 2 socks and come back with half of each.
Yeah, just for pleasure.
Refreshing.
I mean, sometimes it's
Nostalgia.
hot out there. It's lighter. It's more room in the rucksack. You know what I mean? Sometimes I just wear 2
Drop
pairs
that
of
weight.
socks. Wear 2 pairs of socks to start your patrol.
That's the ticket.
Checkmate.
That's what I should have done on that. But I was like ill prepared. I didn't know we were going to be out there that long. I think, I always have the 72-hour bag. But we had no idea. And it was just so shitty. I remember being so mad at that dude. So mad. At first, we were like, fuck yeah, let's go get our boy. We like spun up so fast. And you know that feeling of like spinning
You will
up.
risk
and, like,
everything
yes.
to try to legitimately save somebody who is in need.
Yes, we were like, fuck yeah, let's go. We were fired up, and then we got word kind of what really went down. And then we were like, this motherfucker.
Yeah.
And just out there in the shit. Yeah, so that was my first deployment out there with Bergdahl. I had a lot of good experiences and got to work with a lot of different units and guys out there, and really dipped my toes into that combat world quite fast with that first deployment. I didn't know what I expected when I deployed. You hear these kids, like going in my second deployment, I had guys who'd be like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get over there and murder motherfuckers. I'm like, you're gonna cry. Like, like yeah,
go with that headspace.
yeah, like what the fuck? Like, that mentality going in there, it's just so bizarre to me and so weird. But like all the training that we did and I was deployed out of Germany, and we did a lot of training in bomb holder, and I'm like super grateful for the amount of training that we did. I hated at the time all the training, like months spent in graph and everything, but it like truly prepared me to go over there as best I could. So I went over there that first deployment. I got fucked up, got a couple firefights. One firefight, I was at provincial headquarters. It ended up being like a 3.5 hour firefight, and we had like 3 trucks. We were like in the compound. We were just dropping some equipment, getting ready to roll out, and they had the high ground going on us. But I think one of the scariest parts of that firefight though was the Afghan National Police shooting over my head from behind me. So I'm like, oh no, like, like, thanks guys, but fuck, rocking the 50. So I went back from that deployment, tried to heal a little bit. My body was all fucked up. I got injured.
What'd you get injured from?
I took a bunch of shrapnel and got shot on that deployment. I got blown up, and it really rocked me. I used to be like 20 pounds heavier of muscle though. And I think that really helped, like, the integrity of my joints. I was in pain. It rocked me. But, I was able to, like, keep it moving. And I healed in country. I got back from that deployment, waived my dwell time, and went on another deployment. They were trying to retire me before that. Like, I was
medically retire you?
Mm-hmm. And they're like, we should press this button. And I'm like, nah, it's okay. Like, I'm going to deploy. I did another deployment. And I was doing more mounted missions, and I was still training the National Police, but I was like God Squad, which is like I ran the first sergeant and the commander squad, so I was all over kind of running, doing stuff, but a lot of training with the police and run those joint missions. So it was a easier deployment on my body. I wouldn't have been able to like do all the mounted stuff in the mountains and stuff like I was doing on my first, just because all my injuries. And I still had to like have that come to Jesus talk with myself, I think, after I got home from that deployment. And then I went like CID. I went drug team. I had some hand and neck tattoos when I was active duty still, not to the extent that I have now. But that helped me on the drug team. But that was very short-lived, because even just like holding my pistol on my hips, because all my hardware is my pelvis. I have like rods and screws holding it all together. This is my shoulder's reconstructed.
Jesus.
Yeah, they wanted to reconstruct my knee as well, but because I blew it out on the gunner's stand, that like metal platform, when in one of the firefights, the initial shots, like they shot into my truck, and all the radio mounts and all of that, and the fragmented bullet all just like peppered me in the back of the legs and like took me out, like knocked me forward. So then I like blew my whole knee out. So yeah, I got kind of roughed up a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But I've like pushed past it. I probably waited a little bit too long. I tried to like just keep pushing. Like I didn't even get surgery until like I couldn't walk probably like 10 feet anymore, and I was like puking all the time in pain. Just like my sister was talking to me one time, and I was like, "Ugh." She was like, "What was that?" I was like, my back hurts real bad."
How did your peers
like,
not notice this?
Oh, they did. I mean, I was on a permanent, but my second deployment, that unit, I was on a permanent profile, but still like running PT for like special population and all that. I'm like, y'all know I can't even run, right? I'm this in shape on purpose because I'm stubborn. Like I refuse to let them win. I refuse to let anyone win. But yeah, I was running special pop PT, and I'm like, I have a permanent profile, but like half the company, no one knew that I had that, because I just put my head down and keep working. And like I'm gonna work harder, in fact, because of that. Like I'm gonna run circles around you because you think that I shouldn't be able to walk at all. You know,
feel like
it's
you
just
took it to a point where you couldn't walk at all.
I did.
It all came crashing
I
down.
did. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. I may have not have handled that well. I don't know. I think I did,
familiar
though.
with
Like,
that level of stubbornness.
yeah. So I ended up having the surgeries. Went through the surgeries. My last surgery was actually up here in Missoula, like 2 years ago, coming up on 2 years.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Through the VA?
Yeah, community care. There's a really good neurosurgeon in Missoula. that
Interesting.
they did my surgery up here, added some screws to my back, my hip and back, and I walked out of the hospital that day.
How was your departure from the Army?
Not good. Not good. I was in the middle of retiring, and they demoted me for my marriage. Yeah.
That checks out.
Yeah. And, like, when I went in there, my commander was like, don't worry. Like, they all had my back. They're like, this is I mean, you look at my NCOER, my everything. I'm like, there's no way that, like, this is silly what's happening. And I'm like, I'm literally retiring.
What year was this?
13.
Okay.
Yeah, 13. And again, they had to go back and recant some stuff for my ex because of the way that some things were handled. One of my LT from my first deployment happened to work at battalion. And I kind of got a heads up about how fucked they were about to
Yeah.
do. Yeah. So
Jariko, what's she
Amazing.
leaving out?
I don't know, but I will say, this is like hearing this story. Like, I know the story, but like that time frame, I'd say 2010 to 2014. So many people. I can only speak from my community, and a little bit of like the SEAL community and stuff. There were a lot of senior leaders in the seat that didn't understand the impacts of like, hey, at this point we've been at war for 10 years. 12 years, 13 years, 14 years. And they were starting to see like what they would view as discipline issues, but were actually just human issues that are the result of an organization that has just been running at the speed of war for fucking too long. The Army's not
They
built
got
for
to that seat because they were at the top end of their operational career when the war kicked off, and they ascended to likely staff positions.
Yep.
To get back into that seat, and they had a disconnect between the people who had their boots metaphorically on the ground.
Yeah, and I know of so many people that, they got, at a minimum, run out of the unit, but at a maximum, I know people that have been, like, chaptered out of the Army, like, not court-martialed, but,
Admin
chaptered.
probably?
Admin separation, yeah, like a general discharge or whatever, but basically like, hey, thanks for, your last 8 years of fighting in this war, but because you like got drunk and got in a couple fights, we're going to kick you out with zero benefits. And that happened a lot in that time frame. And I do have a little bit of I don't, but I'd like to say I have empathy for the senior leadership at the time because they didn't know yet. You know what I mean? And
It was their job to know.
yeah,
That's where my empathy ends on that a little bit. Like, if you find yourself in the seat, fucking act as if. You know what I mean? It's your job to figure
Yeah.
out. It doesn't take a rocket surgeon, because I think I can say military-wide, probably. I don't give a shit, special operations or not. Long-term exposure to a combat environment, it will scramble your eggs. I don't give a shit how pristine your frying pan is in front of you. Your
Yeah.
eggs will not be the same at the end. Maybe not scramble them, but you have to recognize what you're asking of people and the duration that you're asking it of them. And then let's just look a little historically. Like, this is weird. Where are these incidents coming from? They seem to be on the rise as we have exposed the vast majority of our force to these environments. Maybe there's a correlation. Maybe we should dig into that fucking correlation.
yeah, man. Like when I was a first sergeant in 175, when I took my company, the company I took had been one of the surge companies. So they'd been on, like, if you've heard of Merrill or Darby or that, TF Merrill, TF Darby, they'd basically deployed twice in a row where the rest of the battalion had deployed once. So they were the surge, come back, and I'm having a few, like, discipline issues in my company. And like, my CSM who's just fucking dickweed. What's going on over there? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe these guys are burnt the fuck out. And we brought them back, and we're going straight into the same training cycle as the rest of the battalion is. But these guys have worked literally twice as hard and long, taking all these casualties, and now we're just going to throw them into the deep end of the, the training cycle pool again. And it's the same thing that I've seen it all over. And it's like, I wish that there could be some kind of a, what's it called, retrograded policy, or like that they could put together some kind of a team that goes in and looks at, like, okay, we gave this person a general discharge in 2013 after these discipline issues. and like be like, all right, well, maybe we should just let that guy retire, you know, like give him the benefits as if he'd retired at 12 years or whatever the case may be. But like, I think that is something that should absolutely be looked at because we made a lot of mistakes as leaders in that time frame.
I don't think I've asked you this, but I've asked most of my friends who spent a good amount of time in a combat environment. What are both of your thoughts on actually limiting combat exposure in a career? I know how I would.
What
feel.
are the parameters of that? What do you mean by limiting it?
There's a glass ceiling to how much you will let people experience. I know guys who have done 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 fucking deployments, like at a JSOC level. To say that they are not the same human being that they were on the front end. Problem is, I know how I would have responded if I had had a glass ceiling placed upon me. And so, I mean, it's obviously, we're talking in a vacuum a little bit, but for the benefit of everybody who serves and maybe to reduce things like that, should the military be responsible for limiting the actual exposure? I'm actually landing more and more on yes. Don't get rid of the person. Put them into a billet where they can still serve and give back. But how much are we willing to destroy people for what we ask of them?
Yeah, man. I mean, I know I've had...
How many GWAT legends do you know that are barely functional outside of the military? Fucking alcoholic, 5th or 6th marriage.
Yeah.
In debt. Bankrupt. Substance abuse issues. Like,
Catastrophic.
Yeah. It's like, what's the... like?
I think there should be a ceiling. I think that's a good idea.
I don't know what it would be, and I think people would push back on it, but I think that's the role of the leadership is to look at things like that and make sure that we are at least putting our best foot forward with our people.
I mean, as I thought about now, there already is a limit. It's just a matter of when we choose to have that person reach that limit, right? And what circumstances make them select, either self or organizationally select to not go back to combat, right? All those people, you know, like... And it was a thing that I had an advantage of when I went into the Ranger Regiment. My dad was there, and he's like, hey, everybody leaves, and it's never on your terms, right?
Yeah.
And for me, that's a thing that, like, if they had put that into place when I was there, I'd have been like, fuck you.
Yeah, 100%. On the receiving end, you'd be like, motherfucker, this is all I've ever wanted to do. I'm not like those other people.
Yeah.
20 years later, you're like fucking putting lipstick on in the shower, fucking drinking yourself to sleep, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And
as a hypothetical, obviously.
Yeah, but eventually it happens. I think that it would help a lot of people's transitions that they weren't self or organizationally selected. They just hit the wall. They hit that magic number, and it's not their fault. You know what I mean? Like survive with honor type scenario. Because shit, I've had several people from regiment tell me that when they were like being told, hey, you need to go out and do like a career broadening assignment, you need to go be a this or that.
Disassociated tour.
Yeah. And
you need to go do a joint tour.
More than one occasion, people have said like, you want to end up like Denman? Like he's fucking like burnt the fuck out, like fucking
Were
this
they
and
referencing
that.
you or your brother?
Me. and you know, which is kind of like, that's kind of cool. Like, oh man, that guy did so much combat. He's fucking crazy now. But like, that's also fucked up, right? That is something that was seen in the organization and no one fucking stopped it, you know? So I do think it's a good idea. I don't know if it needs to be necessarily, hey, X number of months, or if it's like, go serve this long in the line, take this type of assignment, come back. If it's genuinely associated with literal combat or just being, I don't know what you would call it in the teams, but like we call it being in the line. Like you're a fucking shooter. That's what you do. Like, but there does need to be a system in place to protect people from their own pride in that scenario.
Yeah. It's a longer term problem that I think the military has the bandwidth to pay attention to, because that person who sees too much, does too much, whatever you want to call it, being on the line or whatever, the military can insulate them for a little bit, but then when they release them out into the civilian world, the damage that they can cause, even from a reputational basis on the military, hard to quantify. Mm-hmm. Because in the era that we live in, I look at the era of my dad coming back from Vietnam, not the world we're living in, for sure, right? Like, fuck, good luck walking down Main Street in any city in the U.S. and not having like, yay, that's this, or thank you for your service and all that stuff. And then you have a guy who can open any door, a guy or gal. It's like you can go through any door because of what they did, and they're a galactic fuck up because of that. It shits on everything.
Yeah. There is almost. There's no easy way to say it. There's too much. We get too much fucking like.
100%. Go ahead and say it. Don't be like a Richard Gere. Don't go there just be dribbling. It's too much.
People give us too much credit out of the gate. Not me. I'm fucking awesome. But
yeah, of course, you get the appropriate amount of credit.
Yeah, not enough. Usually not enough. No, but that, and I'm not saying like vets don't deserve that. What I'm saying is a lot of them, it fucks them up to where they can't reach their max potential because they just think they're entitled.
Yeah. Or they have opportunities in front of them that they're clearly not qualified for because they were a veteran, even though their service has nothing to do with the opportunity presented to them. So they trip over their dick, and then it's like that door shuts for everybody behind you.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've seen people like, hey, you were this or you were that. Come do this thing, and they don't have the tools to do that thing.
Dude,
and then
you were a fucking Ranger battalion, dude. Come be a hedge fund trader with me.
Yeah. And then 6 months into it, like that guy's a fucking piece of shit. He doesn't know how to trade hedges or whatever the fuck it is.
This was a lawn care service place. What the fuck's going on here? Yeah, it's a true story.
They do all have bright futures at Peeping Tom Window Cleaning Service. So
peepingtomwindows.com is not a big deal. Website
such a good name.
It's one of the
So good.
one of the few things. I have very few good ideas. The only good idea I had at the coffee shop was the C-130 bathrooms in the hallway. That was the only thing I fucking brought to the table.
It's a cool bathroom.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
it's not bad.
It's cool.
What do you think should happen with old Bo Bergdahl? Let's not skim over that shit.
Yeah, I think a lot has happened to him already. That
I think Elon Musk would be safe to call him for advice on his tunneling company. From what I heard, the Taliban did to his asshole.
Correct. Yeah. That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Speaking of gerbling,
right? Like I think so much has been done to that kid at this point that like,
should
all right, go be.
First, I think they have to release the actual information that they have.
I agree with that. Like, what's the fucking
the decision
story?
Should be made there. Tell the actual story. Release the actual letters that he wrote.
Yes.
And then let's decide from there. Not some bullshit narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think so. But then on the other hand, it's like, again, like he went through so much over there. I mean, and that was his fucking decision. That was on his own volition. So he made that bed, and I hate to be that way. But he put a lot of lives at risk.
Yeah.
And cost a lot of life. So, yeah, I think it's a weird thing. They just completely let him go after all of that.
Yeah.
After we traded, like, how many? 5 prisoners? Like, some of the top Taliban?
I think so, yeah.
5, 6 of them. Something crazy.
Yeah.
After all of it, yeah. And then he just leaves. But again, I mean, that kid's never going to be the same.
He has a hard time walking.
Yeah, for fucking sure.
Shitting too, probably.
I mean, you don't get raped
Actually,
by the Taliban for
I don't know
like.
if he has a hard time shitting. It might just fall out due to gravity.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, shitting when and where he wants. Yeah, it's. I wrestle with that too, because like, let's say we're like, hey, like, let's say he didn't. None of the horrible shit that happened to him at the hands of the Taliban happened, right? And we're like, we're going to sentence you to, 5 years of getting raped by the Taliban for doing this. We'd be like, holy fuck, bro, that's crazy. But that happened through his choices, and he didn't know that was going to happen, right? So I go back and forth, like, should we factor that in to how we treat him now according to the letter of the law?
Because of what previously happened to him.
Right. Like, if he had, walked off his camp, been held hostage by the Taliban all the time, everything happened the same, but he got treated great. I think that we should be having the same conversation there.
You're right.
Yeah.
You know
You're
what I mean?
I feel bad for him because he got raped, and so I'm like, yeah, he has to live with that. Let him go. But then you're like, you're completely correct. Like, we shouldn't factor that in. He made these decisions. He did that, and like, oh, because he got raped for those many years, like, we're just gonna like, oh, that was a tough imprisonment that you walked onto intentionally on your own regard.
Yeah.
no easy answers on that one for sure. That's a tough conversation.
And to be fair, if they do release him, I'm not like, motherfucker. Like, okay, I get it. Like, his life is still going to be shit for the rest of it, you know?
I think he's an Idaho boy. If he does get released, I think he'll be just down there. I think he actually might be from Coeur d'Alene or Sandpoint or one of those two.
Yeah.
Recognizable name for sure. Yeah, he's got a long road to hoe in front of him regardless.
Yeah.
So,
what's his name? What's his name just get John Walker, the American Taliban?
John Walker Lind, I believe he is out as well.
Yeah, he just got out a little while ago.
I also believe that he is still, and I might be talking completely out of my ass here, but I think he's still devoutly an extremist Islamist.
Yeah, he got
Islamic extremist.
He got more hardlined in prison.
Not uncommon.
Yeah.
Not uncommon of people going into prison and actually coming out either a better criminal or deeper into their beliefs, what they went in there for.
Yeah. It's wild. You know, and that's one of those ones like, I mean,
Did he get released, Michael? Can you double check that?
We were in the mill like when that happened, and I remember when they found that, I hadn't even been to Afghanistan yet when they captured him and all that, and I was like, man, he's just a fucking dumbass. Like, that's what I thought. Yeah. Like, oh, he's not really a terrorist. He's just like some dumb kid who fucking got mixed up. But
he was both of those things.
But now, fuck that dude.
Yeah,
did he get released, Michael?
John Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's released after 17 years, it says.
17 years.
It's a long time.
Where did he do his time? Was he in like a federal prison or was he in Gitmo?
No, I don't know if he ever went to Gitmo. I think he did his time in a Fed prison. Does it say, Michael?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at it right now.
Is Gitmo still open?
Yes.
Is it going to stay open when didn't the Chinese just do like a $3 billion deal to do a base in Cuba?
I don't know. I don't read the news.
I like very sparingly read the. It's like a fine line. It's like I need to know a little bit of what's happening in the world, but also still be sane.
I think there are still a few people in Guantanamo. I think it's a shell of what it originally was at its max capacity, but it is my understanding that there are still people there.
Yeah, I think there was talks of like closing it years and years ago, and then now with this, the Chinese saying they're going to build a base.
I could see that.
I was just curious.
Like, yes, we'll take your money. Come on in.
Yeah.
He was in Terre Haute, Indiana.
Indiana was where he was in prison? Okay. Yeah. So federal. What'd you do after you got out of the military?
After I got out of the military, I went to college and
What'd you study?
Business management, and I hated it. I was super into like some of the classes, the history, anthropology was really cool, world religion, things like that. Like I enjoy learning, but there's just some things that I didn't enjoy. And then the culture of the college, I saw it. It's very weird for me coming out, and this was, 2014. So this is before really the height of it, but I could see the shift, and especially coming out of the military and then going into like college, it was just a lot more liberal. I wrote this paper. It was like really just a rant, and my teacher, I remember her looking at me like kind of crazy, but about like free speech and political correctness, and how it was like I could see it at the college campus like going away. I'm like, this is crazy. Like these kids' opinions and like can't have like a true debate or conversation or difference of opinion. Like I could just see it really early on. So that was kind of a weird thing for me.
Where'd you go to school?
In Georgia.
Okay.
So I went to college in Georgia and had surgeries. The trajectory of my injuries, it was just like sitting in the seat sucked. I would stand, like I had to like really schedule my classes very carefully, and then I like so I was going through the surgeries and having that, and I kind of just went from college to surgery, and the surgery just really grounded me. My first was the reconstruction of my reconstruction of my shoulder, and I knew I needed to get that done because I needed to be able to hold myself up on like the walker and all that stuff and the cane for my pelvis stuff. But I just kind of started on that journey, and as I got closer to like the injuries, it made me like kind of have to come face to face with things in Afghanistan and in my career that I'd like just shoved under the rug or honestly forgot about, like forgot that it even happened. That's the way that trauma works. I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen. Completely forgot about that. So when I got the rods put in, I couldn't walk for like 2 months. I had to relearn how to walk, like figure my gait out again. It was like completely new. So the VA, I was out in California at the time. The VA in Palo Alto did, which is like right there by Stanford. They did my surgeries and a lot of my PT and stuff, and they were really great. But all that made me like realize my mental shit, and so like I was not in a good space. I was just always like, I literally pushed until I couldn't push anymore. Like I have like pushed this machine to the max. I've like pushed it to its limits, and I'm like super grateful, but I also like probably should have slowed it down a bit. So I like pushed this machine to the max, and honestly to avoid, I think, the mental stuff. And having the surgery kind of made me sit down, forced me to sit down. I couldn't walk anymore and like think about all that. And so that kind of led me, I had friends in the nonprofit world. I reached out to them and then kind of started diving into that mental health arena and nonprofits. And I wasn't getting any help in the VA, even at Palo Alto, they were very amazing for all my like injuries, but my mental health, I just need someone to talk to. Like I have some shit going on up here. Like I just want talk therapy. Like let me just talk to someone. And they tried all these different like cognitive, they're like the whole shebang. I'm like, just let me like fucking talk to someone. I don't want to do all this other stuff. You're making me actually feel crazier. And they just couldn't offer that for me. I'm like, this is crazy. Like so, I was like, what? Like who's doing what in the veteran community? Who's actually helping? And so I just went out and like kind of vetted a bunch of different nonprofits, and like in my head I was like, I'm gonna start my own thing at first or something. But I ended up founding a couple of nonprofits that are really, I think, making a difference. I went through a program and ended up being an instructor for it, and then becoming the director of the program briefly. It's called Progressive and Alternative Training for Healing Heroes, so it's post-traumatic growth. And it's the curriculum is based off of these two UNC professors. They coined the term post-traumatic growth in like the 80s, and they helped write all the curriculum. So there's the training aspect of it and the educational component of it, of like, hey, this is what's kind of going on. We go into childhood trauma, not just combat trauma, and it is strictly for combat veterans and first responders. And they would teach meditation, archery. Honestly, it's like teaching you to get out of your own fucking way, though, and giving you that like space, like helping you figure out how to have that space to respond and not be reactive. And like, it helped set me on a path. And I'm super grateful for it, being an instructor and then helping run the program. I got to dive super deep into a lot of the aspects, but I think the coolest thing was like, no matter who goes through it, like you get something out of it. Each program's a little different. I don't want to like cheapen it, but they basically franchised it. So like the nonprofit that founded it, they rolled it out to other nonprofits and had this huge big training. They did it really well. They had this huge big training program that they rolled out, like train the trainer. And so it's a little bit different at each location, the vibe of it and like what you get from the instructor. It can be a little cheesy if you let it, like with any of those type of things. But I think the meditation and just the reset, I think, is really good. You can't go through it and not get something out of it. When I was running the program, I was like, man, civilians need this. Like, everyone needs this if we could all get out of our own way, right? So, I dove had surgeries, went to college, and kind of dove into the nonprofit world and got kind of heavy into the nonprofit world. And at the same time I was doing all that, I mean, I was healing and dealing with my own stuff while like running the program, being an instructor. I was like, man, this is the blind leading the blind right now. Like, you can't believe you're letting me do this, but that's how that's how I feel like in the military too, though. Like, you know, I'm a young squad leader. I'm like in Afghanistan. I'm like, I'm walking to the talk, and I'm like, okay, I got this, like running through my tasks of the day, and then I'm like, man, I feel like I'm 16. I can't believe I'm in charge of all this shit. Oh, well, let me go get this millions of dollars worth of equipment and take all these people and like go raid this. You know what I mean? Like, so I've always felt like that. I'm like, man, I can't believe when I jump out of a plane, I'm like, I can't believe they're letting me do this. like all of it. I can't
Mike
ever
really
really.
has that thoughts as well too.
Everybody else on that plane has the same
They
thought.
do, yeah.
Yeah.
Actual. What was the hardest thing for you to deal with post-military service? Well, you said you were dealing with the mental aspect of it. What was the biggest hurdle you had to get over?
That was tough. I mean, it wasn't the physical stuff. I mean, I had to relearn how to walk. I was on a cane. I was on a walker, wheelchair. My dog is a service dog. He's retired now, but he helped me with mobility and stuff. So like, yeah, that was tough. But that's fine. That's just physical. It was the mental. It was the like. I think the way my career ended, I wasn't ready for it to end. I felt unfinished, and I didn't grieve it properly. I'd never grieved anything properly in my life at that point, and it was just, I was angry. I was angry, and I felt like, man, I gave my life for this thing, and no one gave a shit. They were like, bye. I'm like, wait, what? like, you know, so that like hurt. That like hurt me. It really fucked me up, I think. And then it was like, oh, and then I was like running missions and like doing something I thought was important. And then I'm like, oh, what? I'm supposed to go to college with these kids? Like, what am I doing? So I think the mental aspect of just figuring it out, of like, all right, there's like definitely life past the military. But like for me, it was like, I always knew that is what I was going to do. And military school, then military, and then so it got all taken away from me really quick. Like I just wasn't ready. And you're never gonna be ready, I think, to let go of something you don't want to let go of. But I'm super happy the way that everything turned out now. But yeah, that mental aspect of it was tough. It's tough to transition and get out, and I think it's not easy for anyone. And you have that sense of community and then to leave that and then feel betrayed by part of it, it wasn't easy. So I was a little bitter for a minute, you know. I was just angry, sad. I wasn't bitter, I was sad. I was fucking for a couple years.
Where are you going, Jariko?
You go pee.
He's got to go pee. We'll wait for him to come back.
Okay.
We can pause.
Yeah, I think you have to do that first, then you do the commercial shit, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
What does he want to do with his aviation career?
Honestly, I think he just wants to fly at a drop zone.
So that we can jump out of the planes.
He wants to be the single most bored pilot on the face of planet Earth with like thousands of hours but no cross-country time, so therefore it's not really usable if you ever want to do something else with it.
I mean, he's new to it. Maybe he'll figure something else out, but I think that's his kind of plan right now.
Fuck that. Fuck that. So how'd you find your way to Black Rifle?
Through the nonprofit realm. I met some of the guys at another nonprofit thing years ago, and it wasn't even like I'd seen some of the videos of like Matt and like blowing stuff up, you know, American flag, bikinis on tanks. Well, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that guy. That's really my only experience with it. But I met Jay through the nonprofit, and then I was just kind of friends, had friends in the company, and was kind of around for about like 2 years or so. And then they launched the BRCC fund. Mm-hmm. And I came on, I was living up here at the time. And
Good old Sea Falls?
Mm-hmm. In Sea Falls, I love it up here. I was living up here, and they asked me to move down to Texas and come work for the fund. And I just got out of, I was like recovering from surgery and getting over that. So things were expensive here. I was just like, you know what? Why not? Like, I'm recovering. I can go down south for the winter anyway, probably better on my back. And so I went down, and it lasted about 6 months in Texas, and then they moved me up to Salt Lake.
Which I think is better than Texas.
Yes. Yeah, Salt Lake's really growing on me. It's really growing on me. It's
The Mormons.
yeah, I love it. You know, just
They're some of the nicest people I've ever
they
met.
are super nice. They are super nice. I mean, be curious to see what they say behind my back, but super nice to your face.
Let's be generous and say they don't say anything behind your back.
Just like Jesus.
Yeah.
Just
I
like-
think Jesus would be an excellent shit talker. He'd have all the information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And he would know how to make it sting the most.
for sure. He'd fuck you up in a verbal confrontation. That's not a good one, for sure. So the BRCC fund, what does it do?
So that is a very good question. They are right now in the middle of a change of leadership in the fund and a change of mission. So, and I'm out. I've been out of the fund now. Move over more into media and branding. So I've been
Team
out of the
Firebird
loop.
is what we call it.
Correct. Correct. So they're changing their mission, but it was started during COVID to help veterans financially.
Yeah.
Either with their business or there's some circumstances which are a little more personal, which, the company doesn't talk about, which I think is just super honorable.
Yeah. Not everything
this-
has to be on Instagram.
Correct. And it's kind of sad because I feel like in a lot of ways the company gets shit on for like the silliest things, but I'm like, you have no idea how many like people that this company has helped and like the things that they actually do behind the scenes, but they don't talk about it because that's gross. Like we shouldn't have to say it,
Nobody's going to be nice until Evan apologizes to Kyle. That's what it's posted on just about everything Black Rifle that I put up. It's fucking crazy. It is insane.
Free Kyle.
Yeah. And for people who are hoping that I'm going to explain that, I'm not going to.
No.
So I can go into Google and like...
Just go in the comment sections of anything on the internet and you'll learn the
It's
truth.
fucking insane how incredibly myopic some people can be when it comes to one particular issue.
You know what I like to ask people about? If I'm in the mood to troll trolls back, I ask them what the stance of their favorite sandwich shop was on the Kyle Rittenhouse debacle. Oh, you like Jimmy John's? What do they say about it?
Yeah.
You
or
should-
how about where you get your gas or shop for your groceries?
Yeah.
Like,
Campbell's soup.
fuck.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So you switched over to the media side
Yeah.
and
No, I
became
guess,
part of a two-person fire team. Team
elite.
Firebird.
Elite fire team.
Where did the idea of skydiving come about? I mean, I suspect it was from the chucklehead on your right shoulder, but
Yeah. So for me personally or for the company?
I kind of
Yeah,
have
kinda
an idea
both.
about where
Yeah.
it came about for the company.
Yeah.
But for you
no,
individually.
for me personally, so
We should mention though that the vast majority, and by that I mean about half the people who started originally down the AFF pipeline with the company did not graduate.
they did not graduate.
AFF historically not
Just
a
a
course.
select few, baby.
AFF is historically not a course that has a high attrition rate. As a matter of fact, it's designed to pass everyone
Yeah.
because it's not hard. Why do you think many at Black Rifle Coffee did not finish AFF?
I will say,
Jariko?
to be fair, our ground school was terrifying. We had a guy, I won't name his name, but I thought that they were fucking with us. The amount of like
Was it
weird,
like Faces of Death.
yeah.
Well, my ground school is the same. Like you literally just sit there for an entire day and talk about every little thing that can go wrong. And you're like, oh, I'm gonna fucking die.
But it was
Yes.
like it was like unorganized, and he was talking about sabotage and like all kinds of shit, and like
As if he was a saboteur or sabotage in the
he
past?
had been sabotaged in the past, and it was a
Did
true
anybody
story.
verify this story?
Yes, yes.
Was it bullshitsu?
No, he really got sabotaged. Someone sewed his cutaway handle shut.
All right. Pop quiz for you new jumpers. You try to pull your cutaway handle, and it doesn't work. What would you do?
What's the mechanism that makes me want to pull it?
Follow your heart. You provide the
Do I
instruction.
have like a horseshoe
Low
or
speed
a,
malfunction.
so I have something out.
You're 3,500 feet trying to cut away, but you can't because you pull like a pussy at like 4. So
I'm just gonna, if I can't pull my cutaway handle,
pulling it as hard as you can.
is it worse to have a 2 out or not, or to just try and ride this fucking thing in that I have over
Are those
my
the
head?
only 2 options you have? And
There's
when I
only
give you-
2 options. I know. Like, do you get more silk above you, or
I don't know what the book is going to say on this one, because nowhere in any fucking book is it going to give you the hypothetical situation where your cutaway pillow has been fucking sewn. And what I'm about to give is not skydiving advice. What I'm telling you is I would be reaching for my hook knife.
Yeah, good call. You know, the hook knife is something that's on every fucking, not every, but like most parachutes, you see them all the time.
Yeah.
No one practices pulling that thing and
Nor
using
do
it.
they know where it is even at on
Yeah.
most of their gear. That's why the rigs that you guys are getting made, you can have them put on the leg straps where they're super easy to grab. You can get metal ones that are smaller. Most plastic, like the fucking military issue hook knife,
Yeah.
if you tried to cut something with any level of torque, it's just going to snap.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, well, that was a good idea. And you can think about that idea until you impact the ground at a fucking high rate of speed.
Yeah. I mean,
Personally, I would cut away, literally cut with a fucking hook knife my main and deploy my reserve.
yeah.
Altitude permitting. More silk out over your head is probably always best. If I'm ever found dead, it won't be with fucking handles unpulled.
yeah?
Yeah, no shit. Yeah. That's a question I've never thought about because it's not something that should happen.
Yeah, much like having a saboteur on the drum set.
Yeah, right.
Who, first off, find out who did that and immediately beat them to fucking death in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Also, what did that guy do that would make that guy want to do that? I have
That
so
was
many
my
questions.
question. It's like, what did he do to make
Yeah,
someone
it
want
was,
to fucking?
It was a woman scorned.
Checks out.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I had to guess, that's probably where I would have
Yeah,
gone.
that checks out.
For sure.
He cheated.
So, though, don't avoid my original question.
Yes, so-
BRCC employees, why did half of them not complete the course? Don't make me name names. JT.
JT just didn't like it.
Yes.
So he's like, I don't want to do it anymore.
A walking vagina.
Absolutely respected
He
his
did.
decision.
He did say just 2 weeks ago though that he wants to go back to it.
Yeah,
I
he's
heard him
gonna
say
come
one
back.
time once he wanted to eat some salads, too. How's that working out for him?
No, JT's... Well, here's the thing. When JT didn't finish, he was like, I don't like this. But he stayed,
Yeah.
and he participated in everything but the jumping.
Yeah, which doesn't count.
But he was still a team player, man.
I was just about to say, what a team player.
yeah,
he was
still a
there.
team player.
Yeah.
He's still like,
He's a
The
good
water boy's on the
cheerleader.
team, too.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he's winning the fucking Super Bowl.
He's a good cheerleader.
you know, if it's not for you, it's not
Hi
for you.
guys, I'm here with beers when you're ready.
Again, traditionally, not a high attrition rate with AFF. I'd
Matt
say
got
a
hurt.
high 90th percentile of success. 99.99999.
And Matt got hurt.
Matt hurt himself.
I mean, it's a
I
high
have
risk.
watched people put themselves in a wheelchair based off the landing that Matt did. I actually
Jesus.
texted him. I was like, bro, you got fucking lucky. Please don't do that anymore.
Yeah. It's scary.
Who else
Skydiving.
quit? There was more.
What's his name? Eli.
Why?
I don't think he wanted to do it anymore. I think that was his reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were not there on the initial course, though, right? Or you were?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were in the Mod 1 course, and then you went through recently, right? 'Cause
Yeah, I
you were
went through. I've only been jumping for like 3 months. I went through in April.
in Arizona as well?
Yeah.
Great place
Yeah.
to do it in April. No, it is. It's like they have great weather.
It wasn't bad.
It
yeah.
got a little hot. I went down for her last
In April?
few.
In the afternoons,
In the
but it was.
afternoons.
I mean, we were up early. We were doing it. It was just 2 of us going through the course.
It's better than doing it in July.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Fuck yeah. I loved it down there. Sarah Curtis was my coach. She's so
She's
rad.
badass.
Yeah. Amazing.
Her husband is
So-
one of the best tunnel flyers
Yeah.
I've ever seen. Steve
So-
is awesome.
I got to do tunnel time with them. She was my coach. I jump I'm super grateful for the training that I received, and I get to jump with like people that are so much better. Like literally some of the best skydivers in the world I'm jumping with. So like I do not take that for granted. I'm trying to soak up all the knowledge and obtain it and learn and get really good at this. Because if you're not good at it, you could probably fucking die. So
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. I'm still scared half the time, so nervous.
Me too.
Yeah. So
Anytime I look over, Mike Sorelli's on aircraft. I'm fucking terrified.
I wanted to go airborne. To circle back to your question, how I got into the jumping.
Yeah.
I wanted to go airborne when I was in the Army, and my career got ended short. But my first deployment, I re-enlisted for airborne en route, and then I got fucking hurt. And so I called branch and honestly got as close as to my mom as I could. I was like, I just want my mom. Like, I'm hurt. My body's fucked up.
Yeah.
I know I'm also, like, even though I have family in Anchorage and I was deployed with those guys, and so I wanted to go up there and be airborne and knew a lot of people and had family up there. I was like, I can't go up there to an airborne unit and not be airborne. So I waived it all and called branch. And so that just wasn't in the cards for me, and I didn't think it was ever going to be. And then after all these surgeries and the past 2 years, I've been off like all the canes and like everything. I'm still in a lot of pain. I have a lot of nerve damage on my left side. Like, I don't feel like connected to my left leg sometimes, if that makes sense. Like, sometimes I'm just like willing it to, I'm like, all right, come on. Like when I'm hiking and stuff, like I still would probably do a lot of things I shouldn't do. I like really still try to push myself, but now it's like, before it was like, well, I have to have these surgeries, so I'm going to push myself. And now it's like, well, I had these surgeries, so now I'm going to push myself in this new body. But yeah, so to be able to like go back and like, you know, it's different. It's not static line. It's free fall.
You understand that's better, right? Have you explained to her what she missed out with?
Well, I'm going to go do the static line. I completely understand that it's way better, but I am going to do a static, doing a static course in October. And
Why?
so I can jump rounds in Normandy and do the free fall.
But how about just the latter part of that?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know if my body could handle a hit like from the rounds, honestly.
It's not awesome. I have
But-
like 80 static line jumps.
Yeah.
They're not great.
But I've taken a couple hard hits, you know, my fault. And landing with free fall, so I'm like, oh, my body can take it. Like, hopefully, let's not do that a lot. But my body can hold up, so I feel good about that. So I am gonna do static line. But yeah, so when I moved from like the fund, the nonprofit realm, over to the media side, and that was in discussion. The free fall was part of that discussion. I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna move and do something new and do this new realm, and like, then like let's skydive too. And it really just came full circle and to be able to do that like after retirement, after my surgery. So it's kind of special.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, Jariko, you got to talk about the Normandy trip you guys did.
Yeah, no, I mean, first of all, like, everybody should know we're going back for the 80th anniversary, which is going to be awesome. You're coming. But, yeah, so the 79th anniversary, we went with a group called the Round Canopy Parachute Team. That's where Jenna's going to go in October. It's an amazing group of people. Like, they do about 4 or 5 events a year where they bring in vets who were either airborne qualified or they weren't, and they teach them. Like, if you were airborne qualified, they give you a refresher. If you weren't, then they put you through jump school so that you can jump static line.
How long is their jump school?
A week.
That doesn't make sense. When I went to basic airborne, it was 4 weeks.
There's less formations.
Oh, okay. Do they have a swing landing trainer?
They do, but it's like they don't really. It's like they don't really use it. It's like
Okay.
everybody's like, "Oh, this is dumb."
Yeah. Do you spend a week doing PLFs?
You do a PLF every day, so I guess
Just
that
one?
counts. At least one.
Oh, shit.
But no, their POI is actually really awesome. Like, I was impressed by it. Like, I went there and did. So I was a jump master. I did a jump master refresher, and then kind of like just observed the whole week so that I can become a jump master for them. And I was like, man, this is like impressive because everybody learned everything. Or it's depressing that like the Army takes 3 weeks to teach people how to jump out of a plane. But it's an awesome group, the Round Canopy Parachute Team. They, you know, like you guys were talking about before, the things that you miss when you get out of the military, these teams and like that, like camaraderie and like feeling a part of something. And they really truly bring that back for people. There were guys there that I talked to, and they're like, this shit saved my life. Like, having this group of people that I can, you know, have everyday communication with. I have these events 4 times a year that I look forward to. I have a job here. You know, they have, you know, parachute riggers, and, you know, everybody there kind of has a little job within the organization, just like you do in the mill. So I linked up. I don't even remember truly how I linked up with them, but went down with Logan. Logan never did static line in the mill, So he had to go through the whole kit and caboodle and jump with those guys. And they were like, hey, yeah, just come check us out. And then as we were down there, they were like, I was like, why is everybody here doing this time? Blah, blah. And they're like, well, we're jumping into Normandy. And I was like, okay.
Tell me more.
Yeah. Tell me more. So, just kind of tied in with them, got Black Rifle Coffee a few slots to jump on their static line rips that they did. And then also I was like, hey man, the plane's here. Let's do a free fall as well. And most of the guys that have been in the round canopy team for a while are free fall guys as well. So yeah, we went to Normandy, set up one static line jump for us, and then one free fall jump. And man, it sounds so cheesy and cliche, like, oh, it's indescribable. It fucking really was. Like,
the jump or just being in Normandy?
Being in Normandy was amazing, but like doing the jump was like one of those, like, when we were on 777, there were a couple of those jumps where I just like, it was like an out of body experience.
Yeah, like when you're falling over the top of the Great Pyramids.
Yeah.
Like, what the actual fuck is going on right here?
Is this my life? Am I in a fucking video game? What is
you're
this?
Having a heat casualty over the top of Antarctica. Fucking up too much.
Yeah. It was the same. And then being there with, that team of guys, it was just really cool. Like the reverence and the respect they show to the World War II generation, and it was, karma, fate, serendipity, whatever. But like there were about 30 drops planned for the the week of celebrations there between like the 2nd and the 8th of June, and 3 of them went. 2 of them we were on. So it was like, because the weather was complete and utter shit trash the whole time.
Was that abnormal?
Yeah. The people that were there, like, the other drop that happened was Sakir, so like a military drop, but none of the military static line drops happened.
Yeah.
Just one military free fall jump, our static line that me and Logan jumped on with the round canopy team, and then the free fall jump we did.
We need to get on the military birds next year.
Do we?
We need to get on every bird next year.
Yeah, I mean, I've never jumped out of a, quote, high-performance aircraft yet.
Really? Like a ramp? I'm assuming they had like a 130?
Well, I mean, I've jumped static line out of everything, but I've never free-falled out of like a 130 or a C-17 or anything like that.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah, I bet. But yeah, it was great. The static line drop we did was on a place called Amfreville or Lafayette, but it was one of the 82nd Airborne's objectives during World War II. The spot we landed had actually been flooded, so a lot of guys like jumped in there and drowned, and it was just like heavy. You know what I mean? It was like a fun time, camaraderie, a lot of respect, but it was also like very like, wow, this is serious. This is like a big deal. So yeah, then we were talking about it, I think, with you last night. The Normandy region of France during the D-Day anniversary.
It's like a time machine.
It's weird, but I don't mean to say weird like in a bad way. It's people there from the time they were kids have celebrated D-Day as their like liberation day. So you see like toddlers walking around dressed as like a paratrooper, and like you see like
The whole family,
like grandpa's wearing a paratrooper uniform, grandma's a nurse, the toddlers are like little tankers. Like they're all dressed up. It's at first you're like, oh, that's cool, and then you go to a few places and like French people are mean to you, and you're like, we liberated you fuckers. Why are you being mean? Take off that uniform. You don't even know what that means. But it's also pretty cool that like they have carried on this tradition of like paying homage to the group of Americans that came through and like liberated them, and they're still doing it to this day. Like, now it's like the super old lady that got handed a chocolate bar when she was like 8 is there, and she's like old as fuck. So there's the fact that they're still remembering what we as a country or as the world did for them back then is pretty fucking cool. But at times it can be cringy.
Did you guys go to the cemeteries?
yes.
How crazy is that?
It was actually really beautiful. They did a great job of it. We went to the American Cemetery right there off of Omaha, and the ocean's right there. They keep it really clean. The French have done a really good job and like really take pride in keeping all that preserved and clean, and they do it with the utmost respect. So,
Yeah.
Omaha was the opening sequence of Saving Private Ryan, right?
Right. Yeah.
How
Yeah.
was it looking up on that beach, up to the high grounds that they were literally fucking running towards?
It's
I got teary. I was like overwhelmed with emotion. We were standing there at like 6:30 in the morning on D-Day.
yeah. We went out and stood there at the exact time that the ramps dropped, on wave 1, and just because of like the company I grew up in 2nd Ranger Battalion hit Omaha. If you look at the history, they were supposed to hit the cliffs, but there was supposed to be a signal. If the signal didn't happen, it meant they hadn't reached the top of the cliffs, and the contingency or the, kind of plan B was that my company, Charlie Company, who was going to be in the second wave, if they hadn't gotten to the top, they were going to hit Omaha and then fight inland and then basically flank the cliffs. So they had reached the top, but they couldn't see the signal. So they hit Omaha. That's the company you see in Saving Private Ryan. And they hit it's called dog green, dog white sectors. So I went and stood right there where that is at the time and just looked up. And
How much open ground did they have to cover?
about 400 meters is what it looked like to me. I didn't.
Probably just fucking sighted in, belt-fed machine gun fire and like indirect.
Yeah, and the other
It's
thing,
not pretty.
the aerial bombardments were supposed to, like, they planned, okay, these aerial bombardments are going to like make craters, which will create cover and concealment for the guys bounding up the beach, but it didn't work because when the tide rolled out, obviously the ocean made the craters go away, so yeah, like, that's the thing that really boggles my mind. Like, it's very heavy and emotional, but I'm also thinking of it as in a like, okay, let's think about this from a AAR standpoint. Like, and the other thing, when you look up at the beach and people that have never been a machine gunner think about, they're like, oh, there's a guy there and he's shooting at me, and it's like, no. Everybody on that beach is shooting like at a 70 degrees this way, and like there's these interlocking sectors of fire, so no one's shooting like directly at you. You're going to be running and you're going to take one like to the right side of your grape or the left side of your grape because you're running through like 50 interlocking machine gun sectors. And yeah, it's, again, when you go to these places, there's so many like cliches that come up in your mind, but you're like, how in the fuck did anyone survive this? Like,
Yeah, I wouldn't have wanted to do it.
Numbers.
yeah,
Sheer numbers.
and I'm like, if I'd been on that beach wall with like a bolt action rifle, I could have killed a company of guys by myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's wild. And then, and you meet, there were hardly, there was the Best Defense Foundation, awesome foundation. They bring World War II veterans over and kind of like, they're just VIPs for that whole week, and they just take them around everywhere. And they had, like 45-ish vets, but only 2 of them, to my knowledge, were Omaha Beach guys. The rest were World War II vets in some way, shape, or form. And just when you talk to those guys, you're like, fuck, man, like, you being here has made like such an impact on the world, because like there's got to be a fucking reason that you've made it off that beach. Like,
Yeah.
it's wild, like hearing their stories too, and you're just like, God damn, like
You
that.
can fast forward to our era and be like, what do you mean we don't have the 160th? What do you mean you're not going to put me down on the Y? Like, I'm not offset. What? I have to walk several kilometers at night with my night vision goggles.
It's
with
fucking hot out
fucking
there.
AC-130s overhead and multiple ISR platforms. Like, I didn't sign up for this shit.
Yeah, yeah. It's there's so many things about just, we kind of immersed ourselves in the history of it before we left, and we're reading books, and so the other thing that's like weighed on me there was the people that were hitting that beach. Like, 18 months prior to that, they were in like a normal life. They weren't, 12-year, like the platoon sergeant for one of those Ranger platoons that hit that beach hadn't been in the Army for fucking 12 years. Like he was like everybody else.
Probably was a fucking school teacher.
Yeah, like 2 years ago he was, pushing a broom at a high school or something. And there he is. Like and what they did, it's like, holy fuck, man. Like we could ramble on and about it all day, but it's just fucking impressive.
Well, beyond the invasion, I mean, all of the warfare that occurred past that as well. It's like, just because you made it to the edge of the beach didn't mean it was going to be a fucking
No, that's
picnic.
just the beginning.
Yeah, they could have gotten pushed back into the sea, man, and like real easy. There were
The
so
only reason
many.
they didn't literally was numbers. Like,
Yeah.
they just kept coming.
And-
And at some point, you got to think the Germans up there in their fucking machine gun positions were like, is this ever going to end?
Yeah. And Hitler was a total, complete fucking moron, lunatic. That helped too.
That checks out.
But yeah, just the. And again, we read so much, but like, yeah, like Point to Hawk, the like kind of feather in the cap of my old battalion, like amazing. But people just think about them seizing the objective. They don't know about like, the 48 hours plus of like German counterattacks that happened like with armor, and these dudes had a loadout to climb cliffs, so they had like their M1 and fucking a bandolier, and they were fighting off fucking German armor. It's fucking insane.
And again, modern day soft is like, we got to get out of here. Fucking AC-130s. They got to take off. The sun's coming up. We got to go. It's like, fuck. Oh, shit. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that trip for next year, for sure. I was so bummed I couldn't make it. Evan seems like he enjoyed the trip, though. Hey, Evan, check the dates on the passports before the trip comes up, just as a food for thought.
Yeah, it's. I mean, but honestly, like us going there and doing, I mean, it's basically a scout, because that region, it's the population of the region goes up like 4x.
Oh,
so
I'm
it's
sure it does.
it's like
And the 80th will probably be even higher than that, because
Wait,
it's
it's-
one of the, a decade ones.
yeah, it's
It's going to be really big next year, they said.
yeah.
And, these guys are getting old. So, I mean, only a few more years of this for them even making it out.
I wonder if they want to keep making it out. I'm sure it's hit or miss, right? Everybody's experience, but I also wonder at some point if those people want to be able to put that down as well and just die in peace.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
tough to have your, like, I think it's an amazing thing. I think we should never forget those stories, but at the same point, I don't think anybody at this table, when you're in your 80s, wants to still be remembered for something you did in your 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like my mission in life to do something other than that, or better than that, or I don't know, more encompassing than that. Not that I'm not proud of it, but like, fuck.
No, for sure.
If I wanted to hang out and only be remembered for shit that I did in the fucking 20s, I'd just go to VFW and listen to made-up stories.
That's what we're doing tonight. We're going to the VFW.
Apparently it's great. JT
Yeah.
was up here. He said it's like I actually have never been.
It looks nice.
It looks nice. Yeah,
And
we
it's right next
passed
to the
on
coffee
the
shop.
way. Yeah.
They serve a Black Rifle coffee cream ale in there.
No
They-
shit.
Yeah, they use our
Oh,
beans.
cool.
And a local brewery, Bias Brewery, threw a batch together. I don't know how much of it remains.
Oh,
I'm
that's
not a
awesome.
beer guy, so I can't really,
Yeah.
just assume it tastes like victory.
Yeah. It's gonna taste good.
What do you want to do the rest of your life?
The rest of my life?
I have to ask you a question I'm not allowed to ask a woman, but how old are you now?
Okay. I am 35.
Okay.
I will be 36 this year.
Okay.
I'm just living it. I
What do you want to
am
do, though?
enjoying jumping out of plane. I just want to help people, and I don't know how that's going to transpire, moving away from the nonprofit into the media. But I've spoke with our new CMO and one of the VPs, and I really just want to marry that nonprofit and media stuff. We've already been doing that. Everything, like, yeah, we get to go and do these like amazing, cool things and jump, but like we're also like helping people at the same time and bringing awareness to the community and what they're doing for people and supporting them with that camaraderie.
You have to do both. Like the 777, I've thought about that one a lot. It's really cool for the people who are there on the jump, but getting anybody to pay attention to anything in the modern world, it's just you're bombarded with information. Like you have like through our phones or smart TVs or fucking refrigerators at this point, they play TV. Good luck trying to get anybody's attention without doing something that stops people in their tracks
Right.
a little bit. I don't know what else. I mean, like, unless you're have like the one product on Earth that nobody can live without, like you're in that same competitive space for people's attention that everybody else is.
Yeah.
Because you have the best foundation in the world, but if nobody knows about it, what the fuck's the point?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of want to marry that together and continue to like serve in that capacity and get to do rad shit.
Yeah.
So seems a little bit selfish, but I'm retired.
It's selfish if you were doing it only for you. Right. Like
Right.
if you weren't going to try to marry the two, like the 777 was selfish for us from the enjoyment perspective. But I think the total we raised was like 1.25. That's not selfish, right? Like that's educational scholarships for people generationally that are never going to be able to replace the hole that was created in their life for whatever reason. And you know, they're both valid, and they're both meaningful. But I think you have to have, I think you have to have both too. I think it's part of the math.
Yeah, I agree. Working in the nonprofit realm and even doing that serious type work, but like we married it with some of like the archery, the meditation, the more relaxed and the hiking, the kayaking. Like we mix that stuff in there because you need that. Like this, it's important to help people and be serious and get business done, but you have to live and have fun also. So like, why not marry that?
I think you should. How many of those Normandy shirts did you guys sell? Those were bangers. I tried to get one.
Did they sell
They
out?
sold out.
Yeah, they sold out.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys definitely shouldn't make an awesome T-shirt that could directly support the cause like we're talking about. Like, that would be bad business. Don't do that. Don't make compelling designs that... Well, actually do. Continue making compelling designs that nobody can get and do nothing with. So that's solid.
Yeah.
Like the 777 shirt.
Yeah. I don't know what to say.
You need to forward me this information. I'll do what I did with the 777 shirt and just start tagging people saying, hey, if you want one of these, contact Evan directly. And he was just like, fuck you, and he made more of them.
Yeah, no, it's come about kind of like by accident. I mean, 777 really kind of showed me how you can effectively marry something people are engaged with and want to watch with, philanthropy and like you said, you have to do something crazy,
It's not crazy. I'd say compelling.
Yeah, compelling. Something that like, oh man, I want to see what happens. And you can show videos of a vet like standing in a cemetery crying, so many times with like stoic music and like we've all seen that before. Like, but we want to.
There's like 8 foundations that might be like the underlying message that they use. So it just confuses people at some point too.
Yeah, so like let's inspire people to help rather than like guilting them into helping. You know what I mean? Like, oh, these people are out doing these fucking amazing things in the name of this. Like, I want to check that out. So, yeah, I think that's the direction that we really want to take it, is like doing inspirational shit, but in order to get eyeballs on these things that are helping people.
Yep. I think that's the cool part of social media or the digital world that we live in. Like, there's a lot of downside to unfettered access to limitless information, but the ability to reach almost anybody you want to on Earth, assuming they're not in China because they can't look at the same shit we do, or North Korea. Not that I think they would support the BRCC fund anyway, but
you never know.
It's possible. That's the upside to it. I think you can connect with people you never would have met before.
Yeah,
that's what I've seen. It has to be managed though.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just fucking lose.
Yeah, I have a weird relationship with it. Like, I
With
have
social
to.
media?
Yeah, like it's supposed to be part of my job, but I like have to be reminded to like pick up my phone and like look at it, and I'm like,
that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I'd rather hire and work with that person than the person who can't put their phone down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I think it's actually destroyed a lot of the interpersonal communication skills.
1,000,000%.
Younger people. I think we would probably be the last generation that grew up. Actually, let me see. Michael, you're what, 23?
Mm-hmm.
How old were you when you got your first cell phone?
17.
So his generation is actually the last one that grew up with the split.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody beyond that, they're so proper fucked.
Yeah.
On how they can't talk.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm guilty of it a lot of times too. Like, I'll be talking to my mom. She'll be like, "What have you been doing?" I'm like, "You don't know." Like,
look at my social media.
Why have like go check my Facebook or my Instagram? Like, I've been telling
my mom
people.
just watches your Instagram to see what I'm doing. I don't post what you do. She's
Team
like,
Firebird is alive and well. What he is not doing anymore is putting up, the untrained observer posts. It's fine. Some people notice, some people don't.
Dude, man.
Oh, you haven't been doing that.
I've tried. Like, I can.
I thought you wanted to be an artist.
There's not a lot of cool shit to take pictures of in Salt Lake City every day.
Bullshit. You find it. You could take a picture of the grain of this table, and it can make it interesting.
That's true. I will admit I've been slacking on that, and I knew you were going to call me out on it today.
Yeah.
And I see your camera sitting over on that
always
shelf.
Over there.
Yeah. I noticed a small layer of dust on that.
Q3.
Yeah. Yeah. Evan.
It doesn't look like it's worth the upgrade, to be honest.
The really big switches, it has the screen on the back. You can move
rotatable.
it. But I don't really know if I like that. It's just a
Evan
degree.
already buy like 9.
He does have one, yeah.
Yeah, of course he does. He probably gave one to his fucking 7-year-old child. I have no idea how old his kids are about that.
So, yeah, to me, that feature just added a layer of a lack of durability that I wasn't interested in.
Oh, that hinge point?
Yeah.
The sensor wasn't like a massive upgrade. The pictures that Leica Q2 takes, holy fuck.
Yeah. Have you seen that?
You wouldn't know because you haven't been taking much recently. But it's like some of us are still on it.
Now there's that little Leica point and shoot. It's called
Is this the one you've been telling people to get you for your birthday?
My birthday's over. They got to wait till next year.
Oh, the one you saw when we were at the Leica store?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks really awesome. It's like a Leica you can put in your back pocket.
Really?
Yeah.
Digital?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I think for our employee bonus, which I can't get because I'm not an employee at BRCC, that Evan, it should be like us for everybody. I will let you two submit that up the chain and let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
I will not submit that because I want to feel elite by having a Leica. And,
Fair.
I don't want everyone having that shit.
It is a power move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still just trying to master my camera on my phone.
Which most people can take pictures better with that than they could have liked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
But, I mean, I've caught some fucking bangers on that Leica.
I have too. They're amazing.
The
depth
one
of field on that thing is unbelievable.
Did you see the picture that I took of the C-130 out of the bunker on Point du Hoc?
Yes.
I mean, that thing is crazy. But
Agreed.
yeah.
Did you want to continue patting yourself on the back, or were you searching for compliments?
I was just trying to dig out of the hole that I haven't posted on my picture a day thing.
What do you guys want to close with? What do we forget? What do we leave out? Where can people find you? Miss, I hate social media.
I do have Instagram. It's like the only social media that I have.
At Laid Back Berserker. Just follow
yeah,
along
just
to
follow
see what you guys are up to.
him. No. At Orns.Dotter. It's Norwegian.
Very Nordic, I was going to
yes, Norwegian.
Yep.
My last name is Bakken, and that would be what my last name would be in the olden days, which is my Norwegian heritage. What do you want to end
to close? I don't know. We'll be, I think our next kind of adventures, we're going down to DeLand, Florida. We're going to get in some jumps down there, and then flying to Denmark to do some stuff with the Danish Jaegers, get some contact with them, do a hey-ho over there. And
that's going to be pretty amazing from a topography perspective.
Yeah, it's going to be rad. So, yeah, we're just looking to find ways to, entertain, inform, and inspire our community, and in doing so, hopefully help as many people as possible.
Where would you direct people to as far as on the Black Rifle ecosystem to follow what you got going on?
Right now, just Black Rifle's social media pages.
They're terrible, though.
I think right now...
Are you going to do like a rotating carousel ad for coffee? Because that's all it was for years.
I think
sucked dong.
I think what we're seeing right now and you guys were talking about, everybody's sick of social media, unless you're like kind of a sociopath. So right now is just looking for ways that it's a few different problems, right? Like, people are kind of sick of it, and you can't hold people's attention spans. B, we are beholden to these platforms, Meta, YouTube, all these other things, and
X,
they're
which you pointed out to me today. I didn't even realize they had changed the name of it.
Yeah, so it's I think in addition to us producing quality content to do all the things we want to do for our community, it's also looking for creative ways to make sure people can get their eyes on it that don't know. Oh, okay, like, the algorithm doesn't want me to see this shit. I'm going to go search for it. So, like, us figuring out new ways to be sure that the people that want to support our community are able to get their eyeballs on it. So, it's for us, it's not just producing the content. It's figuring out, being a step ahead of the curve as far as how can people watch it that isn't again, beholden to these
Third
platforms.
parties. Yep. I like it. Let me know when you figure it out. Anything else?
No, I don't think so. I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Let's get you the fuck out of here. Enjoy Montana. Go back up to Sioux Falls and do
Go
whatever.
fishing.